Warning, the following presentation contains spoilers for the 2019 film, Alita: Battle Angel. Listener discretion is advised.
Been left in the garbage, harvested maybe for parts. He found me lucky, I still had a heart. It was still filling my brain with blood, no waking me up. He gave me something he made for his daughter, but she had been killed. He felt the sorrow, a misery bitter, compounded with guilt. But he saw something in me worth the build. He put my head on a body, gave me a home, and he taught me, showed me humanity's fallen. Battles have waged and been lost, still there's a city of God, floats in the heavens above. I wonder where I really came from, because my memories, they have been lost. What is my name? He called me Alita, call me Alita. He told me, sweetheart, you need to stay in after dark. Well, it's a dangerous world. Here in this neighborhood, women are killed. I laid awake, listened, but something was wrong. I wonder where he had gone. Peeked through the doorway, I saw him sneaking in. His arm was covered in blood. The following night, I had the mind to follow him. I was drawn to the conflict. I thought he would never do harm, but then I the weapon he brought, I stepped through him, drop it. I had the wrong idea though. He was hunting a mark. It was a band of killers, he saw it, and it was us or them. So I fought. I didn't even think. I just jumped to protect. Caught the first off guard, cause I dropped on him then. Had to fend for my life when the second one leapt, but I beat her to the punch when I stomped on her head. And all that was left was a 2-ton metalhead monster. I checked on my father, but kept moving onward. Pressed on with every single edge that I got. Mighty Gruishka, I severed his arm off. And right when I did that, finally a memory came to my thick head. I was on the moon in a battle so distant, only for a moment. Pump the adrenaline, oh where my head had been. I need a hit, talk to the man who raised me from the dead. I told him I could be just like you, hunter warrior, but he said it's out of the question. And I hear the story, this is his form of purgatory. Before I arrived, his daughter died by the hands of a cyborg he refused supporting. And this body of mine was supposed to be hers. I'm just feeling sorry. I know why he became a hunter warrior, and I don't blame him for it. And his wife, she left him gone. They had love, but after what was lost, how could they be strong? She went away to find a way to solve him, but he stayed. Both remained doctors. I met her before and it was awkward. Now I know why. My name, Alita, it was his daughter's. And Gruishka gets away, something fishy though. There's no bounty made. Someone's worked through the system, validated his behavior like it was erased. I will make him pay, especially since he said that he is coming for us later. Somebody with influence, let him loose, and I want to meet his maker. But I'm stuck in dead ends. Meanwhile, I made some friends. One of them, he took my attention, showed me the ropes, and he taught me some lessons. He showed me Motorball, hold up cyborgs, they roll up and fight till they blow up, chasing the ball through a violent show of dominance. All of them fight for prominence. Hey, me and my friends, they took me somewhere new I never been. Went for a drive out the city and hiked till we got to a ship. Ancient yet it's reminiscent of something. It's covered in water, they say it's too deep. Been lying here 3 centuries, but I felt the pain. Something is ringing out for me. I feel it disquiet and leap. Watch as I sink. I hold my breath and go for it. My head is telling me that there is something so important here. I know it, it's like every part of me is overflowing. In this moment I remember being near to it. A memory, I'm close to it. I find control it, punch the code in like I don't control myself. I just go with it, I compose myself. Find a new body, though it's old as hell. I get overwhelmed, bring it to Ito. Tell him unite me with this, but then he won't. Even though he brought me back from a landfill, I am a weapon, this body's my ammo. Battle emotions inside. You say I can't have this body, but why? I am a warrior, you've always known it. Tell me the truth, I demand. Then he told it. This old body's technology is technurky top quality. I'm a doctor and it baffles honestly. Attached to this camp, my apologies. Damn, this was an armed berserker, the most advanced weapon ever heard of. I seen you fight and I can confirm that you're learned in the art of mass murder. Panzerkunst, a machine adaptive, combative, martial art, lost in absence, merging that with this body, that's irresponsible. I can't let you have this. It's like I hear him but I don't. All I hear is he ain't gonna give me what I want. All I hear is everything I know I should become is never gonna happen. Wish he never brought me back at all, but I'm not a wimp, I'm not a pushover. I have plans, I'll just take a bit slower. I'll get after Gruishka's owner. My ambition is hunter warrior. So I registered, this better work despite Ito's threaded words. I let him worry, I'm about to get this person, I'ma show what I was made of, let's get assertive. I head to a bar with Hugo. Hugo's a friend that I kinda, you know. He says this bar is for hunter warriors only. At least he's cute though, cause I got a plan that's massive. Descend down steps in a barn in Kansas. I stand out like a sore thumb. I know I don't look like I can hand out damage. I'm surrounded by assassins. A man named Zapan, he wants some action. Calls me out like I don't belong, so I take his pretty face and freaking smash it. Like like now y'all see me, now y'all feel me, y'all witness that my mouth is speaking. I need you to team up and kill a big savage beast with me. What y'all thinking? Oh, I'm funny. Everybody laugh, everybody guffaw at my expense. Let me teach you a lesson real quick. If I beat you up, I'll get your respect. Stand up on the table, ain't no way you babies man enough to render me disabled. All I know is you're a bunch of little bitty petty failures. You're a wannabe motorball players, let's bounce. Smash the bottles, I plain demolish them, waste them all. With my legs, I drop kick them, whip around like a top spinning. I kick some ass till the doctor's in. But it's not a win till I've conquered them. This whole bar's wrecks till I'm not content. I keep punching, hitting them, I don't care. But then Ito says no more free repairs. He says stop this shit. And I see his disappointment, told him that he didn't leave me any other choice, and I was only here so I could protect him. But then mighty Grishka steps in.
Well, hello, he says I ain't a ghost. I've been upgraded with something more. This new arm of mine, it's pretty neat. I'm much stronger than I've ever been.
You little flea, he says, can't nobody belittle me, he says. This whole bar shivering in dread, frozen stiff like he gon' leave him dead. A hunter warrior's little dog comes toward him barking. He simply targets it, shoots one chain blade from his hand. He carves it, rips the thing to shreds. Damn it, that new thing is lethal. Foolish of me to stand by while he speaks though. I step forward in the room, then I kneel. Poor little puppy, blood pooling down below. I take my finger, soak it in red real slow. Bring the blood painted straight onto my cheekbones. Look what he did, it's unfreaking real. I do not stand by in the presence of evil. The rock drops the monologue, he launches little pot shots, but I quickly run and dodge. His blades retract and he raises up his arm. Ito near gets them changed to his stomach. Hugo runs and jumps and lunges, tumbles over them both. Grishka rips a tunnel through the floor, plunges into it and roars. Come to my world. Ito says, please don't go. Please don't go. Yeah, this is the moment I dream of. If I shouldn't be here, then I ain't Alita. I do not stand by in the presence of evil, so I follow it to defeat it. This is my reason, I need it. Follow him downward, I fly like a phoenix. This is in Kansas, no more, it's beneath it. Where is he hiding, though I cannot see him? And he steps out of the shadow. I'ma do battle, though I don't have time for his ramblings. Lowers the chains with the blades on him, I don't care what he's imagining. I'll kill his fantasy, I'll be his havoc and fatal catastrophe. I'll rip his head off and leave it to atrophy. I'll kill him happily, he cannot handle me. I'll stop at nothing, protecting my family. So let's begin, let him fly. I slip between your fingers, a second try. With flurry, I'm hurrying, murdering, you should be easier. I'll make you die, I swear, even if it takes everything. What do you know? I take a final leap to him, but on the approach, a torrent of blades all around me, they close. I'm cut to pieces and everything slows. I hit the ground with a crash, nothing but torso and arm left attached. That's when it happens, though another memory opens and suddenly I'm in the past. I'm training for battle, losing a spar with my master. It ends in a grapple. She says I'm a fighter and shows me the enemy. Know that the mastermind up in the castle, the city of God that remains today. I know that he's there in a state of grace, and even though I have no way to explain, I suddenly know who to blame. I'm back now and scraping my body across the ground painfully, one-handed aimlessly. Mighty Grishka, he smiles at me playfully, picks me up by the hair, brings me in dangling. You are too little to hurt me, he laughs. I'll leave you intact, keep your voice for eternity. Then till I die, I'll have you at my side every day. You'll be begging for mercy, mercy. So I resist, gotta try. I slip between your fingers a second time. With flurry, I'm hurrying, murdering, you should be easier. I'll make you die, I swear, even if it takes everything. Where there's a will, there's a way. Baring my teeth, man, I wiggle and sway. Reach for his arm and twist till his grip breaks. I hit the ground with my hand on the pavement. Balance my head as the counterweight. Bending my elbow with all of my strength. Then I embrace my fate, I'ma die in this place. But I ain't going without a trace. Push till it's hurting, spring up, I'm twirling. Worrying around like a phoenix, I'm burning. Land with my hand through his eye like insertion. How does it feel when my metal arm bursts in? Surprised, I wonder why. Didn't you know I would put up a fight for you, murder me? All I can think in my head, man, I say it, Grishka, fuck your mercy.
Break my arm, he's scared of. Ito, I see you as my vision slowly fades away. I open my eyes and I feel a new energy under my fingertips. I stand from the table, I'm home and I see my father catching rest. He gave me a body, he brought me home. I owe him everything. I feel all new and shiny. I don't deserve this, not very long ago I had been left in the garbage, worthless, without a purpose. If it wasn't for you, I'd be dearly departed. Courage is something you have, you're just a man, but you made me all that I am, and I am grateful you revived me.
Burning new energy, I am berserker, this urgency settles me. Yet I'm remembering feelings I usually never feel. Hugo's a friend, but there's more that he meant to me. I'm meant to be someone who fights for the weak, but I'm weak in the knees when I think of him. I would do anything only to see him. I go to him, show him my heart, literally. There's something he wants more than anything. Someone he knows has been telling him endlessly. He could be sent up to Zalem, a city so heavenly, but there is no way to get to it. Well, a million credits and Vector, the man that he knows with some power, is sending him. I remind him that I'm hunter warrior. I can make some of that money in bounties, but I can't let you do that for me, he tells me. You shouldn't do things for people selfless, because people, they do not deserve your efforts. But this is who I am. But there is another option to make money for him, and it's truly awesome. Even say that a winner who cannot be beat will be sent up to Zalem, along with the fact that my new body's built to be strong as an ox. With technology old as the fall, probably no other player could beat me, I mean. Not honestly.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting fresh metal for you tonight. Please welcome new competitors hoping to make it into the championship tier. Iron City presenting Motorball.
Starts in the locker room, pop on these roller boots made by the doctor who now knows that I only do what I'm gonna do. They looking good for the stadium Superdome. I'm just hoping they ain't made for my funeral. Ito, he knows disapproving is futile, so he's a good father, supportive as usual. Hugo is moving slow, calls me and says that he's running late. I say I do this for you, you know. But it's time and I enter, analyze my competitors. They seem a mite off center. I'm a go-getter, though I smile, say better go easy on me, guys, though I'll be the winner. See y'all at the finish. Ito calls and says that all the players around me are killers like Alita. No, this is the setup. None of these cyborgs are motorball veterans. Okay, let's slow it down. Take a look at them with both of my eyes. Maybe see them up closer now. Holy cow, notice some load of explosive rounds. But the crowd's starting to shout, call them motor mouths. This isn't motorball, this is a showdown. They're gonna flank me, put my throat out. Gladiatorial, here comes the goal count. 3, 2, 1. Alright, kid, here we go. Get this rolling. Opponents approaching the shoulders. I start with the narrow lead. Hold it up, somebody closes up. I take the corner as tight as I can. Grab the ball and stay focused. Don't show them up. Look at them razor blades. I try to pave the way, moving spontaneous to evade. Soon as I make enough room between me and my nearest opponent, I break his front wheel like 88 pounds of that motorball grounds. No kinetic energy mounted up. He's out for now, so I target the runner. Up roll to the side of the track like I'm on a hunt. Another one pulls up on me and pulls out a couple machetes and swings, but I barely duck. Double up all my adrenaline, separate, gravitate back with the ball, give an uppercut. With their on me, I dive, sorta caught by surprise. I am tackled by one of their biggest cyborgs. He presses my chest to the floor, lines up a rotating razor toward my head, but I lock it in force. My hand in the track, cause I know he has more momentum. I'm slowing down as he flips overhead. He's ejected from me, nearly torn to shreds. Cause I was born for this, I know it, I know it. I was born to be a warrior. I was born to Still it's on, but I get a call. You better got something that's big. He said that somebody's wanting him dead. It's up. And he's hunting me down. He's already killed my friend, and damn, that was that loser I humiliated. The one with the pretty face, slow to a stop. Where are you at? I'm at the marketplace, only 3 remaining players. They chase me as I fly off of the track. I'm breaking ass through the shattering glass, but the stadium in the past. Dash through the city, mad really fast, losing an enemy. One falls and makes a crash. Only 2 left, but they catch me and have me stuck in their grasp. I'm contemplating my epitaph. Somehow I managed to free myself from their hands. I just unload and kill them both in self-defense. I find him in the nick of time, but something isn't right. Hugo is cowering on the ground, ready to die, and I see his face on display, wanted for crime, bounty for murder. I didn't kill anybody, he says, but Japan, he denies it. Both of us know that as hunter warriors, we're bound to meet violence with violence. Hugo, what did you do? Cause I was born for this, I know it, I know it. I was born to be a warrior. I was born to fight. worlds though. I question everything and I feel frozen stiff. These machine droids, security keepers, centurions closing in. But I'm too slow. Zapani stabs Hugo and I just collapse with him. But I can't finish him, though I say I will. I carry him to the nearest building. I say, what did you do? I didn't kill him, he says, but I know I'm guilty. I'm so sorry, but I have been selling limbs, making me wealthy. I tried to stop cutting them off, but it was working. I need a job. I needed that money to go to Zalem. But honest, I quit cause I had enough. Now he's covered in blood. He's covered in blood. All of these lies, he's covered them up. I know that he isn't perfect, cause neither am I. If there was a way I could give him my life, then I see her out of the side of my eye. It's a woman, it's Ito's wife. But what does she want? She comes with a knife. I feel your pain, she says, and I know what it's like to lose someone you love, but I have an idea. And maybe there's time. It's like an autopsy, except for he's maybe alive. She's taking her knife, it's a complicated surgery, and I'm just providing the line from my heart to his mind. I give what he needs for a short while. If he could see, he'd be mortified. I walk out, head up, held high, but it ain't mine. And Centurions scan him, Zapan, though he ain't a robot. He figures something is up, confronts what happened, puts his hand on me and tries to handle me. Violation, Centurion state, no interfering with another's bounty. I push him back and take his own blade, shouting I cut off his pretty face. Everybody runs, but I don't. I go straight for the pain, aim straight for the place that has made me afraid. I just pace in vain. Hugo saved by Ito, it's illegal. His body replaced in a steel frame. He lays unaware in a replay. Ito tells me the poor boy been swayed. There was no way anyone could repay. Vector used him, so I'll kill him. I take my new shiny blade over rooftops. I race to the fool who made Hugo a slave. I'll use him to send a message to the king in the castle. It's Nova, he's pulling the strings. I know it through only just a few memories. If I had bones, I would know what they're telling me. I feel it deep in my soul, he's the enemy. First though it's Vector, I'm breaking and entering. Violation, I show my blade for I rearrange them. Massive Centurions prepare to face them. Keep moving forward, they treat me as dangerous. They open fire but they're narrowly grazing me. I move too fast for a perilous fate with them. Airborne, I jump through the air in the fray with them. Land on a blade down, shred armor plates on them. I'm a soldier, hunter, killer. I keep going till I render everybody dead. Render everybody dead. I'm wrecking everything I can. I'll keep my enemies in check. I'll be the victor in the end. I ain't no victim like the rest of Vector. Do you know who I am? You know who I am. I am just insignificant, thrown in the trash. I have chosen this path and you're nothing but overgrown grass to me, choking my passage. I'm this close to cutting your throat. Tell me what you told Hugo, you bastard. You promised him fallacies. You'd never send him to Zalem. You just took advantage. You poisoned his mind with insanity.
Never underestimate me. I know my name and I'm erasing yours. It's a test, this undertaking, and I won't rest until I kill the source.
With his back to a wall, I have Vector pinned. I wait for a confession he never gives. He says I keep my word with all reverence. I send some people to Zalem as severance. Take Ito's wife, for instance. He lifts open a chest and it sets in. I see her eyeballs, brain, and parts of her preserved in a liquid. His smile is insipid, but just as I step up to kill him, I'm prevented by Gruishka. I thought he was dead. I thought he was dead. He tries to stop me, but instead in my new body I'm prepared. I see my old arm in his head. I dodge and cut him through his chest. I cut him up bad, he crumples in half. I supplicate madness blade through his head like suck on his handle. How could he fathom something else at the end of this chapter? I look to Vector, mumbling backwards. I tell him speak, it's Nova I'm after. Nova remotely shows up in Vector's consciousness. He's the puppet master.
Never underestimate me. I know my name and I'm erasing yours. It's a test, this undertaking, and I won't rest until I kill. Never underestimate me. I know my name and I'm erasing yours. It's a test, this undertaking, and I won't rest until I kill the source.
My blade peeks into his stomach, his evil, his done with for real. I'll deal with the devil next now that his demons have suffered my steel. He's couple-faced, they have been sealed. Feelings of victory plummet when I get a call from my father about Hugo. He's running, he woke up like me, he's a cyborg. Ito says he's climbing upward to Zalem. Climbing the factory line of supply, it's a dangerous task and no human should try it. Now that Hugo's body ain't so smooth or pliable, he's rising high, Iron City is down below. I run toward him, up cylinder spirals, though I know there's something above and it's hiding those memories I have which I had been fighting more. I remember people died here before. I catch up, Hugo, stop, the wind it howls. I keep calling him, looking below, I see he's lost, nowhere to go except for Zalem. He says, please don't tell me to follow you. If I go back to find me, they always do. We'd only live by running forever. At least we'd be running together. These moments, they pass too quickly. Everything between us in conflict, fates crossed accidentally. Defensive ring now descending. I tell him jump from its path, it's deadly. He tries, but timing's wrong. I reach out, but it slices him apart. I leap over and barely catch his arm, stick my blade through metal hanging on. And he looks exactly like I did when I fought Gruishka. Except there isn't strength in his eyes, there's only submission. I know that he's ready to die, but I am not finished. He loses his grip and falls, till he's small in the distance. Till he's small in the distance. Till he's small in the distance. Still Nova lives, not for long, cause I'm going against him. He can hide for now up in Zalem. I won't stop till I choke him dead. There is only one way to go to him. Motorball, and good thing I'm so competitive. Take the fight to him, I'll ignite his whole city, burn him alive within it. I was born for this, I know it, I know it. I was born to be a warrior. I was born to fight.
Never die. They become a part of you. They become no place for reaching greatness. Relentless, you'll survive. They never lose hope when everything's cold inside. Ain't nobody bringing us down, 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 down. They could try, but we gon' know where to crack. But you're not bringing us down. They become the better you. Oh baby, you'll see things that cannot see. 언제든지 내 모습 매직 단 번에 내가 잡아 절대 기죽지 않지. 편편 네가 뭘 알아. 견딜 수 없어 원해도 원하는 게 그래 보여. I'm troubling you running it. I'm so cold.
my veins, rebel heart in my frame. Ain't no saddle in a wild horse, taking off with the reins. Let's go. I'm impossible to tame, yeah. I don't know how to behave, yeah. So they label me a lost cause, living life against the grain, yeah. I've been running since I've been alive, never no surrender, so you've been advised. Adrenaline kicking, I'm energized. I'm about to make it uncivilized. Living fast, never fearful, yeah. That's the vision that I peer through. Leave you choking on my smoke, disappearing in my rear view. Never slowing down, that ain't in the plan. There I go, going, catch me if you can. I just hit the zone, you don't stand a chance. There I go, going, catch me if you can. Come on, catch me if you can. Come on, catch me if you can. Never slowing down, that ain't in the plan. There I go, going, catch me if you can. Got a destiny to claim, my enemies feel the same. Born free, I'ma die free, better remember the name. Let's go. Here they come chasing me down, I ain't even entertained. I release torque with a G-force and I lift off from the lane. Innovators never repeat, imitators wanna be me. Set fire to a new path, and I made it look easy. I'm a problem that you don't need, a phenomenon when I'm free. When I drop in, I'm at Mach 10, zero up to Godspeed. Never slowing down, that ain't in the plan. There I go, going, catch me if you can. I just hit the zone, you don't stand a chance. There I go, going, catch me if you can. Come on, catch me if you can. Come on, catch me if you can. Never slowing down, that ain't in the plan. There I go, going, catch me if you can.
Soon you will be a star.
Welcome to the Alita Army channel. This is Radio KAOS, the voice of the Alita Army, episode 21, interview with Todd Waters, Exploder from Alita Battle Angel, and other ways to support Alita Battle Angel, where we discuss all things to do with the movie Alita Battle Angel, well, I'm saying that a lot this morning, and the source manga Gunmu and the greatly desired sequels. I'm your host for this episode, Max Takjurai, and with me are the regulars. Well, he's not that regular, but today we've got Dennis from Germany.
Hi, everyone.
Foxfire, also from Germany. Saravellian's hanging around in the background there. He may be back shortly. And our big guest for today is Todd Waters, AA Junker from Junker Designs from Texas. Thanks for joining us, Todd.
My pleasure.
We've got Josh Shammelbro. He's from on Twitter. He's a big Alita advocate, and he's in Indiana. Thanks for joining us, Josh.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Pixie Phoenix had so much fun. Was it last week, Pixie?
Yes.
It was last week. Yes, you had to come back for more. Thanks so much for coming back on.
No problem.
Sluggy Tinky 21, who's on Twitter and is a big Alita advocate, does lots of Alita art. He's on again from Illinois. Thanks for coming.
Hello.
And another new guest, we've got Avon Cplay. He's Twitter, Discord. He's a cosplayer and a big Alita Army advocate. And he's also in Germany, so Germany's well represented today.
Wow.
Oh, hello. Oh, and a new one just joined in.
That will probably be
Adam White.
Whoa.
Oh, the last 300 has appeared.
How's it going, guys?
Should I say Den of Barjack? What
Yes.
would you prefer?
Adam White. Adam White is my name.
Oh, dear. You're a funny boy.
Quite formal.
Yes, how you guys doing?
Great.
Oh, it's
Great as
Dennis.
it
I
can
haven't
be.
talked to you in a
I'm
while.
good.
Yeah, haven't heard you. Supposed to come on your channel, talking shit and stuff.
Whenever you want. Anyone on this channel right now is actually invited. And is this the same guest from last weekend?
Oh no, we got new guests, man. We got Todd Waters, Junker Designs.
Oh, this is the head guy, right? Where his head slides on the track.
No.
Badass.
No, he's he had the plasma launcher.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. How's it going, man? Hey, awesome fucking movie.
Oh, thank you. I'm the
I
only
didn't
guy
think you
that
knew
didn't
that.
get killed as well.
Oh yeah. So maybe you're in the sequel then, right? You got some secrets for us?
Man, no, I wish.
Dear.
Yeah, I asked Robert because I after I saw the film a couple of times, I was like, "Hey, man, I never saw what happened to Exploder," and I asked him. He said he lived on to fight another day. Directly from Rodriguez.
I think the last time you were seen, you're spinning out or something like that. You're in a bit of a crash, but I don't think it was a fireball. So
no. I asked him. Yeah, he said I didn't die. So.
In the novelization, you lose a wheel. I think so. You were sort of like down but not out.
Yeah, all of that's nothing in Motorball, man. You need to literally explode in flames to die in Motorball.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, if that head from if the head that she ripped out can say "oh crap," then I think that you're probably okay.
Yeah, I think even that guy's gonna come back too, because he'll just get rebuilt by Ed. He'll be fine.
Could be.
It happened.
So what we normally do at this point is just go through our new guests and get a little bit of background. So we've spoken with Pixie last week. Josh,
yes, sir.
What's your connection to the Alita Army?
Well, I'm assuming this is the initiation process, so try not to go too hard on me. But so
no, man, we're all friends here.
Great. Y'all seem like a great group of people. So I first caught wind of the Alita Army sometime last year, and by now, obviously, you all have seen my Cyborg DC sort of logo, so I'm a big fan of DC. I really am a big fan of Zack Snyder, and I saw a campaign for the Snyder Cut. I joined in, making YouTube videos, whatever, trying to let my voice be heard on social media. Then I caught wind that there was a petition made for Alita because I saw Alita in theaters a couple of times, and then I saw it again on Blu-ray, and I was like, dang, I really want to see a sequel to this movie. And so, I kind of would be in and out. I would post the hashtag as much as I could, but it kind of really didn't gel with me until more recently when, the Snyder Cut was announced. I was like, damn, the Snyder Cut got announced. Let me try and think of more ways to, bring more attention to this hashtag and this hashtag. And Alita was one of those hashtags I always kind of tried to remember, but, more recently now I kind of just want to, bring more attention to the hashtag, if that makes sense. And,
perfect. Yeah. You've had some success and you just keep rolling with it.
Yeah, for sure.
I've often considered what the Alita Army is going to do between when the Alita sequel gets greenlit and comes out. Like, what are we going to do? Because we've spent so much time pushing for this sequel. The moment it's greenlit, it's going to be like, right, now we shut up and wait. So I guess
they would just keep doing amazing projects and putting out amazing fan work like we've been doing this whole time.
Yeah, keep on advocating and everything like we've been doing since last year. So
we've been annoying the internet. Maybe we should lay off them for a little bit.
No, you know what? I think they're gonna come around to it. That's how it always works with lolcows in the internet. Eventually, at first the internet hates them, and then eventually they're like, I kind of like this guy. He's been around for a while, so I think that's how it's gonna go for us. Just keep pushing the same way we've been doing. I think this shit is fun, by the way. So
I think also maybe shifting gears into when we get that green light, it's going to be can we switch gears into being more of like that street team to really emphasize, because even when movies like this get greenlit, we know that their marketing sometimes gets absolutely slashed. And so just an idea that organizing, obviously just our panel here is from around the world, so if we're this like passionate about getting this done, then the next step is to grow the next project, I think.
That's
Well,
true.
I think the fundraising should continue because that's really, really good.
Yeah.
And we'll be going over a bit of that shortly. I'll just grab Avon for a second. Avon, do you want to give the listeners a little bit of a rundown about your involvement with Elite Army?
Well, what can I tell? Well, pretty much just your normal Alita sequel advocate, and I'm pretty much doing nothing else, and just sharing all there is to share, advocating where I can, sharing all those hashtags when it's necessary, or like not when it's necessary, when it's needed, and when we need to get the word out and everything. So yeah. I mean, there's not much else to it. Your normal everyday Alita advocate, so to speak.
There's no such thing as a normal Alita advocate. You're all every last one of you. Alrighty, and Junker, I left you for last because I had a feeling we'd go straight from you giving us a little bit of your background into the questions, because there's lots of questions that people have sent in and lots of things that we'd like to know about your time in the filming. So do you want to give us a little bit of a rundown of who you are and what you do for those that aren't aware, and then we'll slide into the questions.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Well, first, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. My name is Todd. I grew up in Texas. I started working on, costuming and stuff probably about 18 years ago, and worked mostly with bands. Somehow during that period, Robert Rodriguez started collecting some of my jackets that I was making, and then I just started harassing him about working on films. So probably about 8 years ago or so, I started working with bands and working on films, and it's kind of just continued forward from there. I've just been really fortunate that I'm a Texan and he's a Texan that films in Texas, because I'd rather be in my home state, I guess, than in California, where it's just harder to get around and get stuff done. And got to work on some great stuff, and then kind of here I am, just still trucking along, trying to make stuff.
So were you a fan of the manga before you got involved with the Alita movie?
Yeah, so I grew up on like Speed Racer and Godzilla, and then that turned into the manga stuff and a lot of anime stuff. And I was aware of Alita, and I had the books like a few years ago, and then moved, and then I bought them again when we did the film. So I did know what Alita was about.
Cool.
Yeah.
So how did you get the gig? You were saying that you were bugging Robert Rodriguez. You may be better at it than we are, because we've been trying to get his attention and get him on the show, but of course we always aim for the stars, and at least you'll reach the moon.
Right.
You have the singular honor of being the most connected to the movie person that we've had on so far. Last week was Pixie Phoenix, who was an extra, and now your good self. So we're very grateful for you coming on. We appreciate your interest in the fandom.
Yeah, for sure.
We hope to repay you in kind. So how did you get the gig?
Well, luckily, like when you start working for Robert, so I started working with Robert, I think as far back as Sin City 2 and Machete 2. I worked on those films. And kind of like once you're involved in his studio, it's pretty hard to lose your job, I guess. So I just heard we were going to do that, and I was like blown away. And they just grabbed the whole same crew, that's in Austin, and we just all started working on the film. And when we started, there wasn't, obviously there's all the manga stuff, but James Cameron had already had the script, I think, for 10 years or so, and had done a lot of pre-production art and stuff. So we got to start seeing that kind of stuff, and I knew it was going to be like a really huge, crazy thing, but I didn't have to bother him. I only had to like get aggressive and bother him to try to be in the movie. Was the part I had to bother him about.
Yeah, that was actually my next question. How did that come about, actually getting into the movie?
Well, that was kind of luck, because I was working in the costume department, and the thing that happens on a lot of big budget movies, they're going to try to bring in the actors at the very last minute to go and do these smaller parts, you know, like most of the other cyborgs and stuff. Didn't work that many days, with the exception of like Screwhead Killer and God, Alan's character. I can't remember Alan's character's name. So I knew who was going to come in, and also knew that they didn't have someone for Exploder. And I was looking at that piece of production art. I don't know if you guys have seen it. He's like super skinny, and the engine is like down on the ground. He's standing by that kind of like that jet engine. So I was looking at that, and I was like, man, I could do this. I could do this. And so I just started bothering Robert. I was like, look, I know you don't have anybody because I'm in the wardrobe department, and I can see on the list that you didn't get anybody yet. That, you know, for whatever reason, no one was cast. And I just started bugging him, you know. And he's like, okay, well, come see me. And so I had to read some lines and stuff. And he was like, yeah, bring it down, or whatever. And gave me some direction. He's like, yeah, you know, I think you can do it. There's no problem. I was like, awesome. I was really stoked.
I've seen the movie 30 times, and I don't remember any speaking lines from you that made it into the movie. Were there any?
No. The you know, you typically when you try out for someone, they'll just give you a bunch of lines to read to make sure you can speak, I guess, and not be too nervous. But what happened on set, all my action was just, you know, the scowling and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I didn't have any lines.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was going to say, hang on. Was there another scene that we don't know about that got cut?
No.
Because Pixie was telling us last week about a scene that she was an extra in that got cut. So we were kind of fishing for information.
Oh, which one was that?
We shot underneath. Oh, my mic's not on.
Here it is.
Sorry. We had shot underneath the kind of like the bleachers in the stadium, and there was a kind of underneath area.
Yeah.
And Hugo and I don't know if Rosa was in the suit. I couldn't see who was in the suit, but there was kind of a walkway, and the L-shaped walkway.
Oh, yeah.
And we had like a little pit fire, and there were those of us like spreading around making food. I was in that group with, oh my God, I am terrible with names, but the gentleman next to me was actually one of the like fire prop guys. So they just used him as an extra so that he could monitor the propane tank. So
oh God, it's part of the special effects crew. Yeah. I remember I was there in those stadium. Yeah, I don't know what that was supposed to be. I think that was just them walking through, and there was a little bit of dialogue. I think it was just a connecting scene to the Motorball first sequence. I think it might have been.
It felt like that. It kind of felt like just a kind of a walk-through piece, and I guess they just didn't need it, so it didn't make it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of connection pieces I think they took out for runtime. There's a few jumps there.
Yeah, you got to trim all that fat off there.
So, what was it like working on the Austin set for you?
It was really great. I think to understand like what Robert has done is create his own studio. You know, he built all that stuff was part of like an old airport, and then he built all the insides out with the green screen and everything. And we're also, all the workshops are there too. So basically within, you know, no more than a couple thousand feet, couple thousand meters of everything is everything else. All the shops, and if you go in the back parking lot, that's the city set. And then all the green screen stage was like off to one side of that, and then everyone's workshops is off to the left of all that. So working on set when I needed to be there was great. The most time I spent on set was, and you don't get to see it in the film, but we made it's probably a 20, 30 foot long, big cape for Garushka that had to be put on top of a stuntman that was wearing also a head and shoulder extension. So we were all up on these ladders with this big cape thing that weighed probably 30 or 40 pounds because it was all this really old army canvas. And so all those nights were great because that was
I know
part
what
of
you
the
mean now. That was in the ambush alley, and
ambush
he was
alley.
standing there under that thing, and then he threw it off at one
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, and I don't even know if you see the real cape at all. I think they, CGI'd over it. But we were dressing that dummy, so they would have to take a break because it's killing the stunt man because everything weighs a ton and it's all like pushing down on his shoulders because he's wearing the big like head extension and shoulder extension because the shoulders were really wide. But I was just up and down a ladder, and it's just crazy to see how they put those scenes together, because I stood out there and I watched a pretty good portion of all of the ambush alley stuff. So I got to see Elsa doing her stuff and Kristoff and can't remember the name of the guy that plays Swamp Thing right now. Derek.
Mears.
Yeah, Derek. So I got to see a lot of that stuff being filmed. It's just super cool stuff.
Excellent. Was it hard not to tell anybody about what you were doing when you were on these?
No, because you sign so much paperwork, you don't want to. You're just like, no, I can't do anything. I don't want to say anything. Like I was even
excited.
I was really excited. I even felt weird about taking pictures of myself as Exploder when I was in my trailer or whatever. I even felt weird about that because they're so like crazy about people taking pictures,
You still have those?
Man, oh man, I'm an idiot. So I've tried to back up my iPhone and I didn't do it right. And it backed up my iPhone to like 2016 and I lost all my stuff.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So I feel like, I don't know. It's got to be somewhere. There's got to be some way to figure it out. I took 3 or 4 shots, and then there's some shots that got circulated of me and Alan and pretty much all the bad guys kind of at the end. There's some shots of us hanging out, eating and crap like that.
Cool. So obviously we saw you in the locker room opposite Mahershala Ali. What was that like?
It's intense. I mean, he's a big guy. He's intense and really recognizable. So it was super cool. I mean, I was nervous because you don't know what's really going to happen. They just tell you, look, we're doing a scene. He's going to come in and talk to you guys. We're going to shoot a bunch of reactions, and then that's it. So you don't know how far he's going to be from you or not be from you, but just to watch him do his thing, do his takes over and over again. You just like, I don't understand why this guy's like a, kind of like a star and a pro, especially with Christoph Waltz too. It's amazing to watch.
Hey, you got to sit there at the Inglorious Bastards Nazi.
Yeah.
That's got to be cool.
He's a really, really nice guy, like super soft spoken.
That's got to be awesome.
As soon as he came on the set that when we were shooting in the bleachers, and I was probably about 6 bleachers directly, like just and I saw him came out, and I just still had a moment. Like, especially one of my favorites is Django, and it was just like to know that.
Yes.
And I never met him.
That's still awesome, though. It's still awesome.
Is that the scene where he runs down to the banister rail and knocks that guy flying as he comes through?
Yeah. He gets the call and he's like, "Oh shit!" or "Oh crap," and like bolts from his seat and then runs down. So I was directly behind him, 6 rows.
Don't worry, we have plenty of F-bombs on here. We're not PG-13, so it's all right.
Good.
So now I don't know if I should ask this question or Foxfire should, because Fox has been a bit annoyed about this one. Fox, you better ask this question about the legality of that weapon.
Well, those guys were assassins, so I'm sure they had a bunch of stuff that wasn't legal, you know. Yeah, it looked like a plasma fireball or something.
Bingo, that's what I picked it as.
Yeah,
I was kind of thinking of that as like some sort of jet engine exhaust or something, like along those lines.
Because it looks exactly like a jet engine, and the prop that I carry into the room is a jet engine, like a jet engine prop. But I guess it was the whole time I thought my character would strap that on my back. I had no idea that it was a weapon until we started filming all the other insert stuff, you know, where I had to do you're in the gray pajamas and they're kind of pulling us around on these little chariots and stuff to get all the movement.
That was actually what I'd be curious about. Is that like something, those scenes with your character? I mean, there are not like many scenes, but is it like something where you have to do a lot of rehearsal? That was like pretty straightforward, or how did that work?
It was really straightforward. Like, so what happened? You know, man, I wish I could remember. There was the director of special effects would come up and show me the previs. So he's like, look, you're going kind of like this way, you know, you're turning this way, and then you're going to look over here, and then this is going to happen. He would show me all the previs of the animation or whatever. And then Robert would kind of come over and say like a few words. And I think the thing I remember is that, you know, Robert and I are pretty much the same age, so we have like a lot of the same references. And then we just decided is like, well, man, just do it like Speed Racer, like these Speed Racer characters would have been done in the animation, you know, everything a little bit more over the top, like with the scowling and all that other stuff. And then you start filming. The scariest thing for me probably was the 3D camera is like 3 big cameras smashed together. So it's, you know, it's almost 3.5, 4 foot wide. It's a really big camera. And so for the scene where I have to shoot my fireball, you know, it's not like I'm moving forward. They're moving the camera towards me. Yeah. So I'm basically on a chariot with this giant camera, and they're throwing it into my face as fast as they can. And I just have to trust. I have to trust that, you know, what was his name? Bill Pope. He's like, look, don't be scared. We're not going to hit you. Here's your eye line. He put like a little sticker inside the camera, and I just had to trust him. But now that was pretty nerve wracking because, like I said, it's really huge, and you can't flinch, and you don't want to mess up a take. Like everyone's standing around, you know.
Yeah, if it like came as close as it did in that one shot where you were charging up your weapon, that was like pretty damn close. So I can imagine how that felt. So
yeah, I mean, by the time the camera stopped, my head was inside the camera, you know, because on the front of the camera they have the kind of like the shadow box. By the time the camera stops, my face is inside of the shadow box of the camera.
Jeez.
Yeah. So literally another 6 inches inside the shadow box, and the camera lens would have been smashed into my face.
Well, I'm glad they didn't have problems slowing it down.
Yeah, it's all on the, you know, it's all on the computer. They figure out the first move, and then they somehow can. I think it's called what's it called? I don't know what it's called now. I think it used to be called Go Motion, a computerized camera or whatever.
Cool. So do you have any funny stories from your time on set?
Funny? I don't know if it's funny. That stuff was like, you know, pretty nerve wracking, some of it, because you think, you know, you got to do all this stuff. So basically what happened, I guess it's kind of funny. I spent 3 months in the back of this weird warehouse breathing in mothballs, you know, like gross smells, old costumes. Totally got super sick, was sewing millions and millions of these harnesses for all the cyborgs. And the theory is, you know, the harnesses hold on the actuator, and then on the actuator is where they would connect their cyber parts or whatever. And then after that, spent another 3 months making tons of costumes by hand, and then seeing the movie and seeing like one thing for like a half of a second or 2 seconds, and you're just like, wow. He really gives you a perspective on the amount of work, and then you just don't see like probably 80% of the stuff you don't really see, not the detail.
Well, you'll be happy to know that the Alita Army fandom are detail whores. Okay,
Nice.
so we've got people who've watched this movie over 300 times. And,
Nice.
I don't know if anybody's here. I don't think anybody's on the panel today that's gone
Dennis.
crazy. How many times have you seen it, Dennis?
I didn't count the home screenings. I went to the theater 123 times.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah, it took me quite a little effort to do that. Came around a few miles because I traveled my country for having yet another screening.
Wow.
Did you hold on to all of the tickets? The ticket stubs?
I have all these stubs despite four. They didn't have any stubs, but I have my Google Maps history. That should be good.
Wow.
I guess.
Oh, there is another scene that they cut out that I was there when they were filming, is when Dr. Ito goes to buy some parts. You see a really quick cut of a guy, a big muscular black guy's helping him. They're like inside of a kind of like a weird parts stall that's on the street.
Is Lita in the foreground of that one and she's eating the burrito?
Yeah. So actually there was a whole conversation that they filmed that they cut out. That was between the vendor and Christoph Waltz when he was trying to ask like what kind of parts that guy had been getting in. And so that's the only thing that I'm aware of, besides the scene that was mentioned earlier that got cut out.
That's interesting. I've read the novelization, which was written from an early draft of the script, which was an R-rated script back before they turned it to PG-13. I don't think that was in the Cameron script, so that's interesting.
Yeah, it's a brief conversation about what parts have you been getting, and he's just picking up some stuff, some little electronic parts.
We've got a question from the stream chat. It's from Shogi War. So he wants to know if did you ever get your interview with Keenan Johnson back?
Man, luckily I saved it. I saved it on my computer, and I think I'm out of like YouTube jail now. And it's good to kind of talk to you guys about this because you have more experience with the YouTube stuff than I do. I have a Junker Designs channel on there, and I interviewed Kean, and they gave me a copyright strike, and I have no idea why at all. They just struck it.
Did you show any of the movie at all?
No, I didn't use any sounds from the movie. I didn't use any pictures from the movie. Nothing. And I could never get
copyright struck you.
Yeah, it was.
Do you know who it was that copyright struck you in specific?
I could find it again. It's a company, and it looks like mostly they were copyright striking a lot of people that would show part of NBA games and stuff like that. So I don't know who they're associated with, and I don't know if I'm on the S list somewhere, which is weird to even think about that kind of stuff because it seems paranoid when you say it out loud. But
no, YouTube definitely is like that. YouTube is horrible.
Yeah. So I don't know what happened, but it was like this. We were doing a StreamYard stream, so there was no.
Oh, we all saw it.
Oh, okay, yeah, it was totally weird, and then it got taken down. The only thing I can think of is I used a picture of him from Midway and the picture of him as Hugo, but people use pictures of.
Now, was this No, that can will get you taken down in some cases. Was this a hard strike on your channel, or was it like just a takedown notice where they just said take the video down?
No, it was a strike. They said you have one strike, and then you get 2 more, and then you're out of here.
Yep.
Damn.
Yeah, it was vicious. I think I'm on the S list for Disney. I think.
Yeah, I think I am too. I had my whole channel taken down a few months ago, so I know how you feel, man.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking with some it's no secret now. I already talked about it before. It's in talks with some producers to work on Star Wars stuff, and went to England and saw a bunch of the Star Wars costumes and stuff and everything, and they treated me like really, really super nice. I got to see all the costumes before Last Jedi came out, and then I came home, and we went to go see Last Jedi, and my home alarm went off. So before the movie came, I had to come home, fix the alarm, go back. I only saw half the movie. And I remember writing on Facebook, I was like, dude, the only thing good about this movie was this free poster. And everyone was like,
I thought you were going to say the only good thing about this movie is I only saw half of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I know people that work at Disney. They're like, dude, they look at everything. They look at everything. What are you talking about? But
damn. So yeah, you're on the shit list then. I can see that.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I mean, it wasn't going to change my opinion. I saw Star Wars when I was 6, like in the movie theater. My dad took me and my brother to the mall to see it. And that's a huge, huge, huge part of my life. So I'm not going to lie about a Star Wars film and say that I like it when I didn't,
Yeah, but you got to work in this industry. So I can say it, but you got to be careful.
Yeah, I think that there's plenty of movie companies, I guess.
Well, Disney's gonna buy them all, but I did want to ask. You're saying you're a Star Wars fan. Do you see? So you said you've read the manga before, so you kind of have an idea of where this story could go, how grand it can get.
Yeah.
Do you see this maybe in a way being like a new kind of Star Wars franchise taking over where Star Wars is left off? I mean, because the story does become spacefaring. Going into space and all that stuff.
It's hard to say, because I don't know how old any of you guys are, but for me, it's even hard to think of that concept, because to me, Star Wars is such one thing. But I could see how maybe for younger kids, like part of the whole thing that Star Wars is burned into my brain is because of the age that I was. Mm-hmm. So.
Personally, I mean,
not to 12 or 12 to 16 or something. Sure.
Yeah, I just think that we've got like our older films that we really love and appreciate, and then there had to be, I think, just like any franchise, they want to bring in the younger, and we may not always, when we compare these new stories to the ones we had, yeah, for some of us it doesn't add up, but maybe it is just that. It's just kind of this separation of the older Star Wars, a different generation, and now we're trying to bring in. But I also agree that I didn't enjoy some of these more recent Star Wars ventures. And so except for Mandalorian, my husband's like, oh, like Mandalorian. And yeah, if we can get more things out like that kind of connect what I feel is like just this younger, with Kylo and Ren and everybody, it's just like the 20-somethings and the teenagers. So I don't know if I'm making my point clearly enough.
Yeah, I think so. I think what I was saying was, there's a guy on here that saw the movie 100 and something times. So whatever that passion is, that's how I felt about the first Star Wars. So obviously it works for Alita. So I think it could work. And like you said, there's no shortage of material. But I think now that everyone is a bit wiser about how companies work and how Disney in particular seems to work, then I guess the question would be like, how passionate do you think you'll feel about it if it's just going to be on Disney Plus or whatever and not be movies? For me, there's a separation with Star Wars. To me, Star Wars is only movies. Like, I don't watch the cartoons or any of that stuff because it just doesn't kind of resonate the same way. So do you guys feel like you would like more Alita content, even if it's not a film and if it's on TV?
I guess so. For me, like, I just want to bring a quote also in from the chat, where that's the wrong one. Where the Battle Angel fan, I've always said this movie gave me the closest to the Star Wars feeling since I saw the original trilogy movies for the first time. And I think, at least for me and for a lot of other people, it has the same relevance as a not just as science fiction, but also as an epic, you could say. It influences us on a level that we can't even fathom completely, because it's also very impactful on an emotional level, especially if you watch the movies, and also even if you go even further and go into the mangas, and it goes even more, you can see where it is going, and it is really impactful, the whole story. And so I can see that if that thing gets a chance, like Star Wars did once, that it could get a really big franchise.
I hope they would do it as movies, though.
I hope so, that the sequels will roll out as theatrical, because it was made for that. It's like the first one. It's the best if you watch it on a big screen, but it's possible that they could say, okay, let's do the prequels as a series or some kind of idea, so to build up a fan base and then dive into the sequels later. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that's the article I saw was about possibly prequels, but for TV. I don't know if you guys saw that one.
Yeah, it'd have to be animated, like fully animated, not a mixed mode, because that would be too expensive.
Are we talking like a kind of Clone Wars situation?
Yeah,
where...
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Oh, really?
It's been proven to work.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interest in the side stories being episodic, whereas the main line stuff is theatrical.
That could be pretty cool if they get the original people like Rosa, Kristoff, and everybody to come back. It could potentially work really well, I think.
Well, the only voices that would come from the actual movie would be Rose's and the actress who played Gilda, whose name has slipped my mind. I should know this.
Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah, Rodriguez. Thank you. Yes, I'm thinking. Why am I thinking Robert Rodriguez? Same surname.
I wonder.
So, Junker, do you keep up with any of people from the shoot still? I mean, obviously, Pixie's here. You didn't see her at the shoot, but you know each other now.
Yeah. I just talked to Susan the other day. So, Susan and Doug worked in Prop Fab, so they're the ones that painted the rocket hammer and a bunch of that cool stuff. I still talk to them, and like I said, because he uses the same crew from Austin, I've worked with these people for like years on just all the different Robert Rodriguez movies. And I still talk to a guy named Chris Walters is his name. And he, I think it's at the first time they go to Rollerball, I believe, Motorball, they push him out of the way. He's like a guy in a leather jacket. And I think he's holding a Terminator arm, part of a Terminator arm. He also made like a Terminator arm that's in the junkyard sequence in the starting of the film. He's like
when he picks it up, yeah.
So Chris is a special fabricator, and all that stuff's metal. And he was making this really insane stuff. He made the weapons for Ambush Alley too. The knives that what was his name?
Romo.
Derek had.
The character's Romo.
Yeah, Romo. He made so they have the metal version, and then there's like 15 other versions and different types of rubber.
Did you speak to Selena Leon at all, the body double? We had her on about 3 weeks ago now.
The body double. Well, you mean the camera double?
Yeah, she was wearing the clothes so that they could get the lighting right.
No, I didn't really know who that was. It's crazy because for Alita, there was
local.
probably like 8 different people. Because
she's a local, so I thought maybe you'd spoken to her.
No, but I mean, they had her, and then sometimes there's a stand-in, which is sometimes a different person. And then I think she had her skating double, and then like a flexible double, and then a guy that did karate moves double. So there's like 8 or 9 people that played Alita.
Yeah, we'd known about the contortionist who did the handstand stuff after she had the new body.
Yeah. There's a contortionist. There's also a martial arts specialty guy that was just a really small dude that they're practically the same size.
But Rosie did a lot of her own stunts as well. We've seen video of her training for months.
Yeah. I think she got in there as much as she could until they were just worried about something breaking, and they don't want to break her.
Fair enough too.
Yeah.
She's not a cyborg.
Yeah. Someday.
Despite what you see on screen.
Yeah.
Do you know if the rocket hammer was made out of metal? Did you have the thing in your hand to try it out?
It's all plastic. The only metal part, I believe, is there's like a aluminum rod that runs through the center of the rocket hammer, and then most of it's cast resin.
I see.
And then they had like a bunch of different tips they could put on there, like hard plastic, really soft plastic, and stuff in between.
I think they had a lot of these props for the conventions where they were going at. A lot of parts 3D printed, as far as I know. I think at least the Motorball prop, I think.
Yeah, possibly. I know a lot of that stuff that they made from for the, what was it called, the Alita experience, was a lot of 3D print and a lot of kit bashing and a lot of stuff done kind of in a hurry. But when I saw the Motorballs first come out, they were just coming out of molds, so I didn't see like how they made the original.
We've actually got guys in the fandom who are building Motorballs with fully working internal parts. 3D printing.
Wow. Yeah.
I haven't seen the project for a few months, but it was looking really promising.
I bet. Man, there's so many geniuses out there.
Oh, we've got some of them on here. Foxfire 3D printed a full Alita arm holding the heart, and he had fluid pumping through the tubes, blue and red, and the arm glows from inside. The lights in the arm.
Yeah, I would have to dig that out, but I made that, yeah. So maybe I find it and I can show it then.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. That's crazy. Yeah, it's cool, like what you can do, like as a, at your house now. You can print out some helmets or whatever you want, pretty much.
Well, the problem's been that the merch was so thin on the ground. Like we've as a group vacuumed up probably 80% of it.
Yeah.
And I have an Alita corner here in my office with all sorts of stuff. Things that have been released from as merch from the movie, stuff from the Alita experience, stuff that other friends around the world have made and sent to me. And if you've got to make your own merch, they miss the calling.
Yeah, I was surprised at how little stuff there was. I thought for sure, like, I mean, I was praying and hoping I could have my own action figure, but at least you would suspect that there would be an Alita and a Hugo and some kind of a 6-inch or smaller, like, so you can play with them and stuff. And the stuff I saw was like statues, and then there was that really bad stuff from Weta that was like the bobblehead looking garbage. I don't
they had
understand
Funko Pops and these other ones that were very sort of accentuated.
Yeah.
I haven't unboxed them. I mean, I have them because they're part of the collection, but yeah, I know what you mean.
I didn't see how that would, excite people to play with them. The weird.
I would have thought you would have had all the characters who are on the track, the Pro League and the Assassin, and then you could play Motorball. Like you could roll them around and stuff.
Yeah. It would have been badass. I mean, when I grew up, they had those Destruction Derby cars. You could, you put the long piece of plastic in there through the wheels, and you're like, whee! You can like crash them together, and the parts fly off. It would be freaking awesome.
Oh yeah, well, my son who's 6, he smashes his Hot Wheels cars together. But if you had like Motorball characters and you smash them together and bits fly off, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I don't see why not. I mean, they had those Micronauts. Remember, the Micronauts were
those were
kind of
cool.
all like magnetized together at the joints. You could just smash those together.
Yeah,
But make everything Alita.
I'm
We've
even surprised that there wasn't even like much of a push of like a line through Hot Topic or Spencer. I mean, any of these places, just T-shirts or any other stuff. I really didn't see much of that going around, at least in my area. Maybe Texas is a little less Alita. I'm not sure, but it was filmed here, and I still couldn't even find merchandise at the mall.
Yep.
That's
hard.
I think there was I think something happened, with the
It was called
overall
the merger.
push.
We do know
push.
that most of the guys or the people who were working in the advertising section for Fox were looking for new jobs around that time because they knew they were going to get taxed. So
something
we
happened.
were sending out their resumes instead of advertising the movie, which is part of the reason it didn't do so well domestically.
But then there is kind of that strange crossover into the dropping the ball on the merchandise too, which is weird. I don't know, like how much of I didn't know if I was imagining like what did Disney or like, look, we're gonna buy you, so just look, the film's done. Don't do a bunch of extra crap on it. Just put the
bury
movie
it.
out. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think there's a big thing with that in Captain Marvel, supposedly, which is going to get the most push, I suppose.
See, I think that something the Alita Army could do while we're waiting for the movie to be made once it's greenlit is give them ideas for merchandise. Like, tell them what we want. So, brainstorm.
That would be great.
Todd.
I wonder. Oh, is that your arm?
That's my arm. I pull it up and I can play it. It's a video, so I'm not sure if you will be able to hear it, but you can at least see it. So let me switch to screen. Okay. I hope the guys can all see it. So okay.
Wow.
You need to set yourself as on the movie yet.
Wow. How long did it take?
I think preparation, everything took a few months to get there because I had to do 3D models that I did with a friend. Izan made the heart, the 3D model of the heart, and I got it printed locally and did the rest, like painting and making those machinery inside that you can pump those liquids through the tubes and all that stuff. So and I wanted to get this lighting done, so because the translucent effect is like a very hard to get done with like a physical object, so and I really wanted to get that, and so I did it with like a watery liquid and some color that I filled into the water, so to get this bluish lighting effect.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That's amazing.
How did you manage that with the lighting actually inside the liquid?
It's basically I put LEDs inside of those in the arm, and the liquid wasn't a problem for the electronic or so. I tested it out, and it's a low voltage and all that stuff, so it didn't destroy anything. So and tried that out with that colored liquid that I used. There was like some kind of metalish particles with that color mixed, and that made like a really cool effect that you could see. Like that's like a really glowing effect you get because of the metallic particles that are inside. So
it's beautiful.
Thank you.
So I have what we normally do is we throw out tweets and Instagram posts and things like that, asking for questions to ask our special guests who come on. Before I move on to those, though, is there anybody in the panel? I know that these questions have been occupying a lot of the time, but is there anybody in the panel who has a question they'd like to ask Junker?
How is Robert Rodriguez in person? Is he really personable, or is he more Hollywood?
He's not Hollywood at all. That's why I wanted to work with him also. He's actually kind of quiet.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about directors, I'm thinking like action and wow, and he's just not really like that. He goes up and he talks in kind of a low voice to his actors and tells them what he wants, and then goes back, and yeah, it's just working for him is really not stressful at all. Like dealing with him is not stressful. Dealing with timelines, of course, is always stressful. I've had nothing but great experiences. He's a totally cool guy. Yeah.
I've always imagined him to be more of a laid back dude. He doesn't seem to me like, he seems to me like he's almost outside of the Hollywood system. Like he just kind of does his own thing, like he doesn't really care about, falling in line with them, I guess is the best way to put it, Like he doesn't seem like the kind of guy Disney could buy, in my opinion.
You never know. He's directing The Mandalorian. Hey.
No, that's something I was going to ask you. You didn't get dragged along into doing anything costume-wise for The Mandalorian?
No, that's legacy effects and all that stuff is already tied up, all those jobs. I wish I could get involved.
Is that because he had to go through like Lucasfilm / Disney?
Yeah, because The Mandalorian is already set from season 1, so they already have all the props and all the stuff, and all their people that they're going to use are all West Coast people. Unfortunately, like even if I wanted to work on that stuff, and even if they would let me work on that stuff, I would have to end up joining like a different union and doing some other, jumping through hoops. I think, but so the quote that I love from Robert Rodriguez is, he's like, because someone asked him the same thing. It's like, why don't you ever go to Hollywood and do, Hollywood stuff? And he's like, look, because I don't want people to tell me what I'm doing is wrong, or tell me that I'm doing it wrong. And so he built his whole thing, to stay where he's comfortable in Texas and just do what he wants to do. Which is
I like
awesome.
that attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that really well, because he produced.
I like to see that and when I brought up that line about Disney not buying him, I understand that he is directing an episode or maybe 2 for The Mandalorian. I like that he's got sort of that I wouldn't say necessarily call him an indie director, you know what I mean? But he's got kind of like the indie vibe to me, but he can still go on and do big things, like, collaborate with Quentin Tarantino. You know what I mean? That's something a lot of small directors haven't had.
I think he's considered independent still. I mean,
I was about to say, it seems like it's his way to maintain his edge. Like he doesn't, like you said, by moving fully into Disney or any company, he would lose like a lot of that creative control and being able to do things he wants the way he wants to do them. So.
Yeah, and he's buddies with Jon Favreau, so I'm sure like they just had a blast, like working on Mandalorian stuff together. They're already friends, So
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's like an umbrella of the things you can and can't do, obviously, because the series is already established. But I'm really anxious to see if his episode of The Mandalorian feels, kind of pulpy. He always does kind of pulpy stuff.
I think that'll be fun. I'm gonna tune in for that one. I'm not even like the largest Star Wars fan. I like I especially like Empire, but everyone likes Empire. But I would definitely tune in for that one.
Yeah, I think The Mandalorian is. I mean, considering all the stuff that's probably going on at Lucasfilm and at Disney, that they could pull it off as well as they did is it's a really good sign. I think.
Letting directors letting creators create. I mean, that's because from what I know, the little that I know, a lot of the Star Wars films that were kind of did iffy with the fans, there was a lot of like studio meddling from what I've heard, like firing directors and stuff. And I don't think that ever goes well, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I think the last thing you want to do is change a horse midstream. You know, is the expression.
Yeah.
You don't ever want to, unless they die. You don't want to replace the director. I mean, that's the guy directing everything. You know. But yeah, I think I agree. Like there seems to be a lot of problems with the newer stuff. George Lucas, man, I love George Lucas stuff because you can look at THX, his student film. You can look at THX, the film that he got to do. I think that was for 20th Century Fox. Then you see American Graffiti, you see Star Wars, and that guy was like, you know, I don't know how you hit like a fourth home run or whatever. So I think the smartest thing about George Lucas is Star Wars was such a struggle, was being able to let someone else do some of the work. You know, having Irving Kershner direct Empire Strikes Back was a really good decision.
Now, my biggest question for both of you, Pixie and Junker. Here's my vision. Rodriguez, Quentin Tarantino, rated R, Alita sequel. Almost like Sin City. Dark.
No, I that is almost everyone's wet dream, but I think that if Disney is going to claim this as their own property, they're not going to let this go beyond a PG-13 unless we get, again, like what we're fighting for with Snyder is an ultimate cut where, okay, fine, I don't think necessarily Quentin would sign on for anything less than a rated R, but maybe being such good pals, maybe he could kind of a couple beers knocked back, he could maybe be talked into it. That would be amazing.
I've got a lot of beer over here, so I mean,
I'm already on my second, so.
So Pixie, the way I'm looking at it is that Disney has bought Fox for the IPs that it held, and quite possibly to be the more adult orientated streaming service. So they stream all their kids and family stuff through Disney Plus, and anything that's harder than PG-13 goes to a streaming service under 20th Century. And then they can stream stuff with Aliens and Predator and Alita and all the things that are more too adult for Disney.
Right.
And they sort of keep it a little bit away from the Disney, the Disney soft and smiley, and still have it.
Yeah, they're supposed to reboot Alien soon.
I'm terrified of that.
Oh God.
Yeah,
I'm terrified for that.
I mean, is there any rumors as to who's playing Ripley yet, or is that still too soon?
Oh God, I don't even want to think about it.
If they don't get Neil Blomkamp for that, I'm gonna be pissed.
They are not going to because of Ridley Scott, which is why we didn't get that Alien 5 that everyone wanted.
They want a new Alan Ripley for that
would have
movie.
really been the Alien 3.
Oh guys, I just read in the chat. Someone added Robert is for Mando best pick, and I read that is Robert would be great Mando.
No, that wasn't Mando. I wrote that. I meant for
y'all
the
said
show
Robert was
as a
jacked,
whole.
right?
Is he?
Oh.
Robert's huge, man. He's like 6'3" or 6'4".
So he's big.
Yeah, he's giant.
Whoa. It doesn't look like that. And on video?
It looks like it to me.
And video, it seems like normal sized. I don't know.
Yeah, he's not normal sized at all.
I've always made jokes about how Uwe Boll used to fight his movie critics in the boxing ring. Like, what would that be like if it was Robert Rodriguez doing the same thing for Alita Battle Angel?
Oh, Junker, quick question.
Yes.
I noticed that Robert that night was like in two different t-shirts because I guess he just got it, sweaty and whatever. Both Ed Hardy. Is it true? Does he have like a thing for Ed Hardy shirts, or am I just imagining this?
If you said it was Ed Hardy, I guess it was Ed Hardy.
just seemed like that the whole style of shirt, and I kept going, that wasn't the shirt he wore earlier.
Yeah, hopefully it was just something that looked like it. I don't remember, but you know, hey, he can do whatever he wants. He can
Oh
wear.
hell yeah! No, that is not a cut at all. Just a kind of a observation.
Observation. Yeah, I would imagine when you're dealing with that many people in Texas, you were there too. It was not the greatest circumstances to hang out at that stadium all day and all night.
Oh, it got cold.
Well,
it got cold.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier creative control, Junker, and changing horses partway through a race. We've got a member of the Snyder Cut movement here with us today, and he would understand greatly about the problems with changing horses partway through production of a movie. So that would tie in with that. That's Josh Samuel. So I guess my statement sort of leads into a question of creative control and letting sort of serving the purposes of the executive rather than the storytelling and the characters.
Sure.
There's a lot of commentary out on YouTube these days about the new wave of movies taking old legacy characters and forcing them to do things that are out of character, and that's where the break occurs and people don't like it.
Right.
You're making the character serve the story and the sort of political leanings that the executive of the studio has, rather than the character being part of the story but being true to the character. And that's what's destroying movies these days. Do you feel that might be the situation we're facing?
Is that those are great points. Is that, and we're also in an era, and we're in an era where we're seeing a lot of movies, and this is something that Zack Snyder has quoted himself. We're in an era where we're seeing a lot of movies that are made by committee as opposed to being made by the filmmaker, the writer, and the creators that assist with these people. So with Justice League, it's a matter of, Warner Brothers was, for lack of better terms, shitting their britches because they saw the reaction to BVS and they were like, okay, we want to get paid, we want to get like Marvel, and as a result, you see the theatrical version, which is tonally different from what we're used to seeing with Snyder's movies, and then later on down the line, you learn that, it's just a bunch of he say, she say, okay, you're going to do this. We're going to hire this person. All right, we're going to delete all this. And it just makes for a very bad experience. And it's not just even Justice League. It's other movies like Dark Phoenix is another one. Even as you said, Junker, with some of the Star Wars movies, there's some questionable stuff in those movies as well. So, yeah, I think a large part of it is, studios are trying to make these big cinematic universes, but they want to race to the finish line as opposed to taking their time, if that makes sense. They want to rush, with the creator and not give the creator enough freedom, in a sense, and, expect everything to be all good, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty well said. I agree with all of that.
They're lacking internal consistency. I do a fair bit of writing, and one of my pet peeves is a lack of internal consistency with the characters and with the world. It's not just the world. We've got to have internal consistency of character, and that's what they're breaking all the time.
You can see those problems a lot when it's just like the story is written to serve the story, to move the story forward, and you have no idea really what people's motivations are. They're just chasing, like, a car goes here, then they need to get to the car, then they need to get to the money, then the money has to be moved here, and it's just like you have no idea who these characters are, and it's just like writing a movie to chase itself. It's really weird.
Isn't that kind of how Rise of Skywalker was? I saw it and I didn't think it was terrible. It was kind of crazy. You know what I mean? That's kind of how it felt. The way what you just described last. It was kind of like we need to do this because of this, and do this, and do this, and do this. You know
Yeah,
what
it's
I mean?
called like a what's it called? Like the MacGuffin. You're always chasing like kind of like a clue.
Yeah.
The whole time, and you don't really have a sense who the characters are. You have a sense of what the characters need to do, but not so much how they are. It's weird. I didn't even see that movie. I couldn't after my half of The Last Jedi, man. I was just done. I just tapped out on that.
Well, it's bad in a different way. That's what I've heard from the people who are really hardcore Star Wars fans that left disappointed. Me personally, I wasn't invested in the sequel trilogy that much. So I kind of like just saw it because I have AMC stubs or whatever, and I just walked in. I was like, I mean, I'm not offended by it, but I can see what they're saying about, you know, why it was. It just felt like a committee movie, and I think that J.J. Abrams is trying to please too many people.
Right.
With that one.
There were suggestions out on YouTube at the time that his creative control was taken away. Into the process.
I read that.
Yeah. That would make sense.
Just about in from a different perspective, but I mean, I have a daughter, and coming into this new generation of films, you know, and seeing Rey and Jin, you know, as far as the characters go, that's great. But I'm sitting here with my daughter trying to bring, you know, her in through the interest of seeing interesting female characters when the movie overall is not working. So how are you supposed to keep, you know, a kid interested and want them to be inspired by, you know, women in sci-fi when the whole film as a whole is just not doing it?
Exactly.
Well, that's the difference between, just as a comparison, Rise of Skywalker versus Alita. With Alita, you get invested because you understand the character's motivations. It's a story that crosses all the boundaries, age, gender, international borders. Everybody can sort of watch it and get it and feel part of it.
Yeah, my daughter loved it, and seeing the empowerment and, you know, someone that, you know, he needed to find themselves, which I think young girls are doing right, you know, at that age. She's 11 now, and she loved Alita. We saw it twice, and she saw it twice. I've seen it more, but yeah, just to give that impression of a person that, you know, has so much growth through the film as well. From not knowing herself to coming into her power. I think that's empowering for young girls to see, even in sci-fi. And, you know, like you said, that balance between Star Wars and Alita just, I felt, did that job more and kept her more interested.
Do you guys think, sorry if I'm cutting anybody off, do you guys and girls think that James Cameron, Robert Rodriguez, do you think they're gonna have to play ball with Disney once the whole thing does get greenlit, whether that's a sequel or a series on Disney Plus? Because, you know, Disney kind of aimed, I'm not trying to make this a Disney hate stream, but, you know, Disney kind of aims for whole family friendly, whoopty, you know, bibbity bobbity boo type of content. So do you guys think they're gonna, you know, say, okay, you can do this, but y'all can't do this, even though it's in the script, or y'all can do this?
I don't think so. No, I think Cameron would rather let the whole IP die than to compromise on his vision.
Okay.
And I think the other thing is it's hard to tell like how much of the IP that he could still control or not, because we don't know like what kind of contracts he has.
Right.
Well, we know.
So, I mean, in theory, like maybe he can do whatever the F he wants with that Alita stuff. I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, depending on what the contracts are set up like.
When we got to see the Q&A with Robert after the pre-screening, and I hope I'm remembering this right, but he basically, you know, Cameron basically gave the project to Robert because he just had so much on his plate with getting out the Avatar sequels and everything like that. So if that's the case, even if he's still busy, we should be able to still see what Robert can do even on his own without Cameron's help with a sequel. I mean, everything is set up so well. But like you said, you know, dying on the cross of Disney, Someone in the chat, I think if I'm reading it right, had basically said, like, they shouldn't have just tried to plow this whole family idea of Disney Plus when they could have just had like a secondary 20th, Century Fox, whatever, and that could have been some of their more, PG-13, R-rated, that they have.
That was my angle, yes. They can cover the whole base. So just going back to Junker for a second, obviously you saw the reviews and the lambasting that Alita got out of the gate on theatrical release. But if I don't know how closely you've been monitoring how Alita's been portrayed in the media of late, but obviously we have, because we're kind of fixated on that stuff. But the Alita Army has angled itself to be Alita advocates. So we know it's a good movie. We know it deserves a sequel, and we're doing our best day by day to be a really positive fan base that raises money for charity and gets the message out there that this is a great movie and there should be more of it. And sort of changing that initial perspective that a lot of people got from the theatrical reviews, where everybody was jumping on the let's shit on Alita Battle Angel bandwagon. So my question to you is, how did you feel about the Alita reviews on release? And if you've been keeping up with it at all, how are you feeling about the more positive change to those online reports now?
Well, I think it sounded like a hit job to me. Like when
agreed.
It's kind of like didn't make sense, and we've all seen it happen a bunch with Rotten Tomatoes and stuff, where there's just one thing doesn't support the other thing. It's like you get the feeling, all these people have been already bought and paid for already, when there's like a really that much of a disconnect between the reviews and then what the audience actually thinks, what people actually think. And it's like, as a reviewer, you can't be that much out of touch. And so at first, it's just really disappointing because and also the lack of advertising. So like when it was coming out, like I was noticing, I saw it on some buses and stuff in LA, but I was like, man, this is weird. And then the things happened with the reviews, and then that was kind of like a real bummer. I just felt like it was getting pushed under the carpet. And then almost in a similar fashion as kind of what's happening with some of the Star Wars IP stuff, is like it took people, or not the fans, not you guys and not me, it seemed to take the rest of everyone else a little while to catch back up again and realize like what it was. And definitely was super cool, right when I interviewed Kean, you guys were flying some plane over the Oscars and stuff, and I was just like, this is a good film, and people are gonna have to I think it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right in the end. I don't know what that whole weird stuff was at the starting. Like there was no reason to heap hate on that movie, especially when we're kind of like the argument seemed to be like we're all for positive female role models, unless it's this chick, then no, then not her, not Alita. It needs to be somebody else. It just seemed weird.
It was very strange. There was some actually last week we had a very heated stream about some of those reviews and how they just didn't track and make sense. So if anybody's interested in that, go back and have a look at that one. It is rather long. There was some very heated commentary, and we'll be doing it again because we didn't get through it all. So look forward to that one. So thanks for that comment, Junker. Yeah, we're pretty much feeling the same way, in that it just didn't really make sense.
Yeah.
What they were doing, and the feeling was that perhaps Disney had put out a request for a hit on the movie to push the value of Fox down while they were negotiating the merger.
And then also wasn't Captain Marvel was going to come out, and
kind
of soon after that.
The other Marvel was always going to do well because they pitched it as you need to watch this before you watch Endgame.
I think also there was a noticeable gap of almost a month between, so I don't think that even if this movie didn't get like worse critics and made well, like that after a month, it isn't a competitor anymore, or a hard competitor for Captain Marvel at that time. So I think the other reason that was given, and what I saw in a business magazine, I'm not sure if it was Forbes, was that they had to put Fox's value down, and if that movie blew up and made $1 billion at the box office, it would have made the acquisition a lot harder. So yeah,
that's the way I looked at it. Yeah. It makes a lot of financial sense.
The other super. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to talk over somebody.
No, you can go ahead. You're the guest.
I just remember another particularly really weird thing. There was a bunch of articles I remember seeing about this weird discussion about how her cyborg body was too sexualized or something, and how this was bad for women and bad for everybody somehow.
That's my favorite one. I referenced.
Oh my god! I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
I make YouTube videos. My entire channel is centered around making about 15-minute long form breakdowns on the movie and the manga. And I think in almost every video I've done, I have referenced that article about her breasts, because to me it's funny. It's so ridiculous that it's hilarious. But I did want to say that this movie was getting hate before it even came out.
Yeah.
I remember seeing old stuff about, just talking about why do her eyes look like that. And it's obvious why her eyes look like that. She was modeled off an anime character. You know what I mean? And then, of course, you can go to some of the lore explanations. But this movie was getting hate from day one. And I think it has a lot to do with James Cameron and Robert Rodriguez, and how maybe he's felt on the inside, and how maybe people feel about them on the inside of Hollywood, and some of the, incestuous journalists that write for Hollywood, you know what I mean. I think I think a lot of it is personal, to be honest with you. That's what it feels like.
I remember those articles coming out. The ones I also remember in particular was like not even about the film. It was just like, how much is it going to lose?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, what? It's like, it's not even out yet.
They were betting on it losing, and the thing is, I'm not gonna lie. When I had no idea what Alita was. I saw the preview in 2018. And when I saw it, I was like, that movie looks strange. My wife was excited for it, and I was probably going to go see it because she was going to go see it. But, I only saw like one preview, and then I went to a bar, and the little napkins that they put under your glass, it was, the coasters. They were Alita coasters. But other than that, I saw no advertising for it. So I had no context of what this movie is supposed to be. So I think that, combined with the hit pieces that came out before the movie even came out. Also, I think the movie got pushed back too, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, because I remember I was like, wait, and isn't this movie supposed to come out? That was when I had the coasters. It's like, this movie didn't ever come out. So I think those three factors made it.
This is all I got. This is it. No T-shirts. No, I couldn't find anything. I got this at the movie theater night.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's nice. It's cool.
On my wall.
It's cool, but there should have been more,
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
and I think those three factors right there made the audience, or the potential audience, lose faith in the movie before it came out. Because, like I said, I had no intention of seeing it other than for the fact that my wife wanted to go see it.
Yeah.
So.
Also interesting is also that is a point that Gunnar brought up, that on Rotten Tomatoes there's sometimes even a disconnect between what the review and the rating is. Reviewers can give a fresh rating even if your review says the film is bad. Like usually the movie has to get at least 60% from a reviewer, or 4 or 5 or 3 or 5 stars to get a fresh rating, but it doesn't seem to connect that way, and this makes the process of rating movies so much obfuscated and opaque. You don't get it. Like one movie can get a fresh rating, even if it has just 55% in general, and other movies can have like more than that and still be rotten. And Alita was exactly at the fringe, which made this thing like more important to know what is the case now, and why it isn't like the same for all movies. So
if people, that's another thing with these reviews and these quote unquote critics, like the media itself is a powerful tool, and a lot of people put too much stock into how someone else feels about a movie. And ultimately, I've always said this, that takes away from not only your excitement for a movie, but whether or not you want to go see a movie. And I've always tried to tell people, like, hey man, if you or ma'am, if you want to see this movie, don't worry about what Jeremy Johns, Chris Stuntman, they might have a gazillion subscribers, but if you really want to see it, whether it's, Batman and Robin, which is one of the worst reviewed movies ever, or if it's, something like an Oscar-winning movie like Lord of the Rings, just, hey, go see it. Don't try not to care so much about what a critic has to say. But I agree with everyone's points. It's weird how we live in this era where, like, movies like Alita get trashed on so frequently and before the movie even comes out, and then you get people already going in ready to hate the movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's, and also it's interesting to see that once Alita was out of the movies, the perception of the writing about the movie has changed slowly over the course of a year, to the point where we now that basically most magazines are now reporting pretty positively about that. Even magazines like the Mary Sue, which made the worst accusations against Alita, brought recently a good article about her out, and was like, what happened with those people? So how could they change in less than a year?
They watched
the movie. They watched it. They watched it.
This is actually kind of thing I'm having a bit of trouble trying to accept some certain 180s some people make, like what was it, Scott? He was like against the movie, then he was kind of in quote Alita fan. Then if people make these 180s, all of a sudden I'm kind of having a problem taking them seriously.
Yeah.
They're following the money. They saw that this movie had a following, and they're like, "Hey, maybe get in on the ground floor while that's a grassroots thing that's growing." I think that's what it is.
They see how passionate we're fighting for it, how we get invested into it, how we're supposed to walk that extra mile for a movie that's not usual, and I think they smell what's going on. The tides have changed, I guess.
Yeah, I sort of look at it as the bandwagon of public opinion, and it was pretty bad. The bandwagon was going in the negative direction there for quite a while. And then around the time of the home release, when it wasn't a competition anymore, there wasn't the need to push Captain Marvel up to what by pushing Alita down. The merger was finished. There was no more need to shit on Alita for alternate reasons than what actually the movie was. Then it turned around, and now it's got to the point I do feel our hard work on every online platform and banners over the Oscars and all that stuff, we have made a difference. So even now, I don't think this is going to happen, but even if we don't see a sequel, at least for a long time, we have made a difference, guys. So you can be proud of that.
Yeah, us, along with the Snyder Cut people, along with the Sonic movie people, and along with some of these video game companies, have really shown how far and important consumer advocacy could go. Because at the end of the day, we're the one who pay their bills. It's not like YouTube, who has Google to float them. YouTube is it loses money every year. They're a net money loss. But it's Google that floats them. And I think Disney had a lot of that with Marvel. You know what I mean? They don't need to make money on a movie, but at the end of the day, a lot of these movements are showing them that, hey, there's a lot of goodwill that can be won and lost. I mean, like The Last of Us 2 is one that we can bring up. Okay, say what you want to say about the leaks. Okay, about the story. To me, it was the actions of the developer after, where they just completely destroyed entire fans' livelihoods. And they're reaping those consequences of doing that to fans. Whereas John Landau and stuff and Rosa Salazar having fun and chopping it up with their fans. You know what I mean? You guys are here as well. You guys who were on the movie as well. So I think hopefully this is to start to show, even if we don't get a sequel, the difference that we made was showing that how about you just be friends with your fans? You know, be friendly to them.
True. That's. I just want to bring up Leo with just that you check your mic. It makes this cracking noises, and
that's plus 300.
Last 300, and we have also some other background noises. So if you can, and you're not speaking, it would be cool if you mute the mics.
It's a public service announcement. Thanks.
Yeah, sorry to make that.
We've got some more questions on Twitter. I'll just run through these quickly because some of them we've already covered. Tanquan Leo, who's been on the show before, he's from France. He was asking, how can a jet engine throw fireballs? Is it tech? How many fireballs can it throw? I don't expect you to be able to answer this, Junker, but have you heard anything along the lines of and what he's capable of?
5. I think it's got 5 charges in it.
There you go. We have an answer. Yes.
And so you're going to be in the Alita video game, right? The one that I talked about in my last video. Your character's going to be in there, and you're going to do the 3D model for him.
Wait, what?
The Alita video game that I'm predicting is going to come out. It's going to be Motorball centered. It's going to be like
that would be great. But they already captured everything they would need to capture. I wish I could go do more stuff for it, but I would think the contract that I signed, they and all the scans they took, they won't ever need me again for anything.
That sucks. Hopefully the sequel comes out and they do.
Yeah, that would be great.
So Doc Ido, who not the one from the movie, not Christoph Waltz. This is Doc Ido on YouTube, who does all analysis. He spent, I don't know, have you seen Doc Ido's channel at all, Junker?
Yeah. He and I talked about me going on there, and then I lost track of him on Reddit, or I don't remember what happened. But yeah, I'm aware of that.
Well, there you go. You've got the context. So he asks, what was it like going through the motion capture process, and did you have to learn to rollerblade?
Okay. Well, it's the weirdest part is just you're wearing tight pajamas, the gray suit. But the process as they did it, you get in your pajama suit. That's after I would have my makeup on. They would put on the jaw piece and do all my face makeup. And they would stick you kind of in this round kind of erector set with all these, I think it was 72 or something cameras or 43. I don't remember exactly.
Jeez.
And then from there, through all their years of experience, I guess, over at Weta Digital, they just know, they tell you to do all these weird movements, they capture everything, and then by the time you walk out of there, less than 5 minutes, they already have like a 3D gray model that they can rotate through space and make the arms move and make the face do all kinds of stuff, literally like that. They have like the 3D model there. But for the other stuff that we filmed, I was just kind of on a chariot kind of a thing that was pulled by the special effects crew, so I didn't have to learn to rollerblade. And I think no one on there was on rollerblades or was rollerblading in the scenes, where we come up to the line and then Alita says some stuff to us and take it easy on me, guys, and all that. We were all just on these weird kind of like platform things. And I think she only had on skates, I think, for just the part where she's getting trained, where they're playing the street version of Motorball.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a little bit less cybernetic, so they had to do it themselves in that part. So Alex number 99 asks, in the locker room, Exploder and some of the hired thugs appear to have organic bodies, but on the Motorball track, most of them seem to have fully mechanical bodies. Are their heads detached and placed onto Motorball bodies while their organic bodies are kept on ice?
Yeah. I mean, that would be my thought, because you see what happens to Garushka when they're doing a changeover. They pull his head out and he's got that sloppy, crazy, squid spine.
One body.
So I'm imagining, for me, I imagine they just put the bodies probably are in a like a alien cryo freeze, little bed or something. But
my understanding of it is that they have a street body,
right,
which is more sort of humanoid,
right,
which is also cybernetic. But you can have synth skin and stuff over the top, so it looks like an organic body.
right.
And then their core is taken out of that and put into their track body.
Yeah,
So
I think that's mostly
street-
true. But if you look at Screwhead Killer and Kamaza, I think is the one that Adam played. Their bodies don't change that much. It's more like they snapped on some feet,
Yeah.
But I think everyone else got like the total makeover.
Yeah, it'd be interesting in the sequel to get a little bit more information on that. Basically, we're expecting Motorball to figure heavily in perhaps the first third of the movie. So there should be some more information that comes through when that is put together.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm just quickly filtering through these questions. Okay, Ed on Twitter asks, is it me, but does the picture on the left have a striking resemblance to Jim Cameron? So he basically thinks that you look a lot like Jim Cameron.
Man, someone else said that to me before. Someone else has pointed out that same picture. Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe he and I have like the same nose or something, but yeah, that's just me standing around.
They also did have a mistake Edward Norton for Jim Cameron, so
Maybe he should have been in the movie. That would have been cool.
So he wasn't actually in the movie as a motorballer.
No, they should have stuck him in there somewhere. I think he only came to set like twice. Like he was really hands off.
Well, that kills Genjo99's question because he was asking if one of the other thugs was Jim Cameron in disguise. So.
No. I'm trying to remember who they. I think John Landau's son like played a heavy in there, but I can't remember anyone else kind of like getting cameos or anything like that, or not cameos like disguised. I don't think anyone else did it.
Actually, I completely misread this. It says, is the big guy on his team Robert Rodriguez? I always thought it was him in disguise.
No. Are you talking about Mace, the guy with all the bolts in his head?
He might have been. He just says
talking
the big
about
guy.
Sam Medina played the other guy, like the main guy that's at the end with Screwhead Killer. He like has a bit of a Rodriguez face, I think.
Yeah. So Alita Bonsai asks, and this is more towards your side of costuming. Do you know anything about the meaning of the triangular symbol on Alita's shirt? This is when she first goes into the Motorball arena.
Man, I've been asked that question before, actually.
Wow.
And so what I did, because when I work on these films, I'm part of the wardrobe department. I'm considered the specialty costumer. And I work under the costume designer whose name is Nina Proctor. And the last time I got asked this question, I asked Nina about that same thing. And she said she's like, I don't know what they're talking about. It wasn't there. So she thinks that they could have added it on later because it wasn't on the costume.
See, I did notice, because I was looking at it just the other day, looking at the symbols particularly, and that one seems to almost disappear into the shirt on certain angles. So post-processing would make sense.
Yeah, because she doesn't remember, because she's like, I don't think we weren't, I don't remember doing anything to any costumes except for, we had to put the numbers on everybody when they were out there training, all the kids.
Also, they couldn't see this because all the shirts, all the trousers she wore were purely digital, so it's not, so it can't happen,
So anything that Alita was wearing was actually post-processed. That makes sense, yes. Good point.
But if they kind of make it like post-process, you could. I think there was some kind of theory going around that these was it like 3 triangles in one another. That is like some sort of hint towards 3 movies. You know, something around that.
I think we would have also to ask Selena if she had that green shirt, if they made it actually, or if it just was post-processed.
Yeah, it's hard to remember because, for instance, when she goes to, I think it's turned in her first bounty or whatever, and she has on that trench coat.
Mm-hmm.
There was not a trench coat, but from my recollection, everything else was made. Like her fabric stuff was all really there, but then none of the cyber bodies were there.
Yeah, that makes sense because they wouldn't really be able to create those in real life.
Yeah, they wouldn't look good. They'd wrinkle and all kinds of stuff. It was just easier just to have her in the gray suit.
So Karmatron Dynamics, this is just a comment. He says, "Don't you know the projectiles in Motorball is a violation of Rule 5?"
Yeah, I'll say it again. I don't care. I was going to shoot whatever I had at that lady.
He says that hand cannon was a beast, and he can't wait for an interview. So hopefully, Karmatron Dynamics is listening in now.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, just for that weapon to show up again, or to have them get an upgrade and have 2 of them would be awesome.
Yeah. Oh, Karmatron Dynamics on Twitter is Alita Law on YouTube. So that's Alita Law.
Nice.
So Alita Brazil says, "What was it like working on the movie with Robert? Would you go back to the sequel if your character was alive?"
Oh, well, yeah, because working with Robert is awesome. And of course, like, man, I mean, when I was growing up, I wanted nothing more to be like in sci-fi movies and stuff. So to be playing kind of a bad guy for one, and then be playing a bad guy that's like a cyborg, and then a bad guy that's got also like a cannon or a plasma ball shooter or whatever, fireball hand is, yeah, of course. I would love to do that. And as soon as he tells me that it's going to happen, if it does happen, that's the first thing I'm going to bother him about, is asking him how we're going to get Exploder back in there, even if for a second, second or 2.
You definitely need to make at least a cameo.
Yeah, I think to bridge the 2 movies, it could be coming off the track all messed up, and I don't know, something's got to happen.
Pixie, you had a comment?
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask Junker. I mean, I obviously see so many of the Blade Runner influence in some of the pieces, but what were some of your other inspirations in going into this and your creative team?
For Alita, or just in general?
For Alita, for this one specifically.
It was weird. So we didn't have like that much production art. There was some, but it was mostly for the cyborg. So a lot of the production art and a lot of stuff that I created was based off just a couple drawings, and then the costume designer Nina came up with kind of a general feeling. So I mean, Blade Runner is a pretty good starting point, but without, it's kind of a different kind of tech.
Yeah.
So we're trying to kind of just close together, because also these people, that are down below, that there's a lot of recycling going on, and a lot of these people are stealing stuff and grafting it onto themselves. So it was kind of a post-apocalyptic, but not as dirty and disgusting, and then maybe a little bit of like kind of Blade Runner in there. It had to have some nice cool style lines and some cool pockets and pouches and stuff.
Nice. So does the panel have any more questions for Junker, or should we move on to our other topic for the day?
No, fine. No.
I'll get back to Mike. I had one question floating in my head, but I kind of forgot about that. I'll maybe come back to that later.
Yep, sure. That's fine. Okay, so the other topic that we came to talk about today, and thank you, Junker, for all your insights. They were great. Is
welcome.
other ways to support Alita Battle Angel. So obviously the Alita Army have always racking their brains trying to come up with ways to support the Alita cause and getting the sequel. And I do feel that we've done a pretty good job, but you know the war isn't over until it's won. So till we get that green light, we've got to keep pushing this on. So this is sort of a panel discussion about what we can come up with, and certainly chat, feel free to add your ideas into the mix, and we'll discuss them, see if we can float them. But we're looking for ways to support Alita, ways that the Alita Army can do in our limited, fan fashion to support the movie and get a sequel greenlit. So would anybody like to start off? Does anybody have a burning idea that they want to share?
It probably wouldn't be the best idea to share the one I shared with you, Max Tech, earlier. Like, no, that would have been too crazy and way out of our limits.
So what Avon's talking about is he had this crazy idea of having a commercial airliner repainted, an Alita livery. But then he went and looked into the costs. And what sort of numbers were you getting there, Avon?
I think it goes from when we take an Airbus A320, like around that size, small size. I think it's around 50,000. And when we go to like 747 size, it's about can go anywhere depending on the colors and the size of things can go anywhere from 200,000 to 300,000. So that was just like. I had this one thought sometime when a YouTube recommendation came up and just crossed my mind. It was like, how much would it actually cost to repaint an airliner? And I was watching an Alita video at the time. I was like, maybe should explore that. And then I was like, nope, cross that off the list. Screw that.
Yeah, I mean, there's wonderful ideas. Like we're actually tossing around getting paying to have the Alita symbols on one of Elon's rockets. Like there was some sort of idea that you could actually pay to put sponsoring on capsules and stuff like that, but the costs were very, very high. So
I have an idea.
Go for it.
I think what we should do is contact someone and set up a charity boxing match between Robert Rodriguez and Adam White, with Hugo Boll as the referee. That would get a lot of money. Like KSI and Jake Paul, that kind of thing.
Yeah, dude.
Idea brought up, but I know that as of my last time on the show, just in looking at social media, there's been a lot of questions about the Alita Army t-shirts. So possibly finding a way to sorry if my mic's going out, guys. But yeah, somehow setting up some kind of store. I mean, even if it's just t-shirts and coffee mugs, I mean, any little bit put back helps the movement. So
we already have that sort of store with shirts like that, but actually it's not helping the movie out. I see the only way in buying officially licensed merch and more Blu-rays. I keep buying them and sending Star of Aliens so you can give them away, and I keep doing that until we get a sequel.
Dennis, are you still able to find them? There was a lot of discussion about.
Yeah. I'm ordering at Target, and they have always some available. I reduced from 15, 20 a month to 10 a month, and that works perfect.
Oh, cool. So they are still available somewhere.
Yeah. They're not available on Amazon, but it's still an economy, so I go somewhere else and spend my money there. Yeah.
Well, that's been the whole problem, hasn't it? We've wanted merch and we haven't been able to get it, and we've got to the point where we're making our own.
Well, and I think that was part of my point. Is yes, I understand trying to get the message across to the studio is obviously keep purchasing, but in a way of advertising and pulling more people into the army. Just seeing someone walking down the street with an Alita hashtag Alita Army, and I collect coffee mugs. I'll buy one. Like, I get that it's not helping the studio so much, but it gets the word of mouth out there so that more people will support the studio.
I changed all my nerd shirts, my computer nerd shirts, to Alita related shirts, manga, and Alita Army shirts, and basically that's the only kind of shirts I'm wearing right now.
Same here, man.
He's hardcore.
Hey,
definitely hardcore, yeah.
Go ahead, Josh.
Just to remark, I just saw a comment from Gunnar in the chat. What merch though? We have not been able to find any Alita shirts, and I agree. Like, I get if we want to support the studio, what's out there?
There's a few on Amazon, just a very few, but I guess that depends on where you're at in the world.
And do we know if those are actually like studio produced or merch, or is this knockoff?
A lot of the Amazon ones are. All the places like Tea Turtle and all of those little print-on-demand T-shirt shops generally not.
Okay.
The shirts on Amazon look exactly like the ones that are on the Fox store. If you go to the website, the Fox website, you'll find a bunch of shirts. They look like they're pretty much the same shirts. Not really, depends on your style, I guess, but they're so if you ask me. Not bad, but not great either.
Welcome, Staravellion. You made it. We were wondering.
It might get noisy again, so I might have to dip out.
I was going to get you to do the news because we haven't done it yet.
Oh.
Did you want to do that, Star?
I'll just go ahead with the topic right now.
Yep, fair enough. We'll do the news at the end. We were sort of testing where to put the news. And when we have big guests, like we've had the last couple of weeks, the news sort of gets pushed back. So we've talked about billboards. I've got a couple of notes here, but they're just like ideas to get people rolling. Events. Obviously, events around Texas are interesting because they're close to the studio. And if we can get the studio involved at all, that'd be terrific.
Speaking about the events, also a lot of the discussions we had were about where to hold such kind of events if you want to influence the decision making of Disney. And so we basically are always split between Los Angeles and doing something in Texas. And basically, what would you say should we aim for? Which locality to held our events?
Are we on me, guys?
You and Todd. So I think you are both from the area, so I just wanted to get your opinion on that. So what you think would be better if you go for something in LA, or would you say but it's better to have it in Texas if you do events like a billboard?
Honestly, I think kind of a joint thing if we can. I mean, we have, obviously with coronavirus going on, we have had a lot of things going on with the drive-in theaters because you can socially distance but still watch a film. We've had some weddings that have been done that way. So if there would be a way to set up a drive-in and still take some footage of people watching the film, enjoying the film, maybe cosplaying, and then sync that up with doing it the same time in LA, so that when we live stream parts of it, hopefully that's a possibility, then people can see just like the boots on the ground, the people that are excited, the people that are cosplaying. And the fact that we're still supposed to be so segregated because of this virus, it shows that people are still willing to make that effort for Alita and for their love of the film.
Good idea. I think that's a really good idea, especially Texas. Texas, I know, has a lot of drive-ins. LA, I think, I know there's some they do like up on roofs of buildings and stuff. They project like from one building onto the wall of another building. Also in LA, there's a guy I know has a place called the Vortex, and as long as there's a charity that somehow benefits from, you know, utilizing the space, there's a 60,000 square foot space in LA that's available. That's my shop's like right around the corner from that place. I think that stuff sounds really doable, because what's the most you're going to need is a projector, and then, you know, get some chairs and get some snacks, and like you said, if you have people doing cosplay, and, you know, set up some booths if people are making their own cool Alita stuff.
So I like those ideas. I mean, not just a joint venture, but maybe you can set something up with Alita members in every city, because I know in the city that me and Eddie are that we both live in, the city where I just came from. They do a lot of what's called movies in the park, where they just set up a big projector and just play movies in the park. So if we can somehow get an Alita related thing there, and it's very friendly to like indie stuff and small movements, you know what I mean? Not a city that has a lot of big old corporations. And I think that'll be something that'll be very doable for someone like Eddie and I over in our place. And maybe if we show pictures from every city that's doing this, that could be a big thing. They can show a lot of grassroots movement.
You just have to be careful to get permission for that, because one of the stipulations in the licensing agreement for like a DVD is that you won't show it in open air sort of arrangements in, you know, like homemade cinemas with more than a certain number of people. Obviously, you know, if you pack your lounge room full of people, how are they going to know? But once you go outside, then it's much easier for them to see that you're breaking that stipulation. So
I understand. I mean, I remember when the Mexican government broadcasted like 3 episodes of Dragon Ball in the middle of the city, and Japan tried to sue Mexico for that, and they told them to screw off. I thought that was cool, but I understand what you're saying, but I'm pretty sure there's a way to do it, you know?
Disney's already cracked down on like some middle school that was going to do the same thing with like a Disney film, and they gave like a cease and desist, and it was like, are you kidding?
That middle school, that was, I think it was even a preschool, and they cracked down on them, and it got a media outcry in the aftermath about it, and it resulted in Bob Iger personally apologizing to those, so I think it wasn't worth. But the problem is what Disney has is, they have lawyers that are hired, and they do it like automatically without Disney knowing, and they don't get even the memo who they crack down until something like that happens, that the media picks it up. And so so that's not the thing. That kind of publicity, of course, they do want to have. And also I got a comment on from Gunnar here in the chat, requesting the movie for a drive-in screening is a great idea. Drive-in theaters have made a comeback even in countries which had stopped doing them. So you said it, because of Corona, it's actually interesting to get them back. So why not? So actual cinemas have to can only have basically 50% or so, and then they have to cut it so that everybody has enough space. But you don't have the issue in drive-ins. So
Got it.
it's unfortunately in Australia, the drive-in culture has just died. I think there might be one drive-in in the whole country now. So all the rest of them have been plowed under, and they've built apartment blocks on them and stuff like that. But if you've got the drive-ins, that sounds like a plan. So everybody remembers 2 weeks ago where there was a limited re-release of Alita in South Korea, and it pulled in not unrespectable amounts of money for the ticket sales.
Yeah, it was like basically
John was talking about it.
Yeah, Doc Edo brought it also up, but it was just a couple of theaters, I think, that brought it back. So whatever they do, those made a reasonable money. So if they had made it like widespread and not just in 4 cinemas, so it's like countrywide, I think they would have brought in some good bucks.
Well, it's an indication that there is an interest. There's a lot of people who saw Alita, slept on Alita when it was in the cinemas, and then have seen it on streaming and gone, God damn it, why didn't I see this in the cinema? That there's the desire that we need to grasp hold of and push for a re-release as the cinemas start opening again. That's my feeling, that will get more box office and will get noticed by the powers that be to greenlight a sequel.
Yeah. Is there actually a cinema in any one of you guys' areas that offers to rent a particular cinema space? Because I have one I'm in the same city as Zensui, and we have a cinema that actually has one particular space up front which you can rent. You can do all kinds of things like gaming sessions there, but also movie screenings. And last year I thought about actually renting that, and I think. I'm not quite sure, Dennis. Can we talk about the thing about the IMAX thing you guys had planned?
We contacted the guys over there, and they only have one screen, and they told us they would come back at us, and we would negotiate about this, and they never answered our call, and it pretty much.
Yeah, that was like an idea to get one extra IMAX screening. I think in Sinsheim, was it, in the middle of Germany, going? But as Dennis just said, they never got back to them. They almost had something cooked, like it was kind of looking good, but then they never replied again. So
that's the point. And then this Corona shit happened, and well, we never asked again. So we can probably do that. When cinemas are opening back up, and there's a cinema in my area. That's the one that's continued showing the movie until 5th of July.
Wow.
Yeah. We were buying a lot of tickets, so they kept showing the movie on Saturdays and Sundays and holidays, and one or two screening in the early about 10 to 12 a.m. and
was that like the cinema where I first met you guys?
That one.
I think that was the one where the guys actually came up to you and were like wondering why is everyone buying up these tickets?
They pretty much interrogated us.
Theaters opening back up. I mean, obviously we don't want that to happen too soon, but Junker might back me up on this with the, we're local with the Alamo Draft House system, and they definitely do rentals, or they do throwback days or special weekends. I mean, I've seen like the Labyrinth there twice, so they're willing to take some of these films if they think there's going to be a pull for it. So, and aside from that, you can rent them out for special events. So in fact, that's where I did see the pre-screen because they had Robert at one of the other locations, but they did the live stream Q&A immediately after the film. So it was Alamo Draft House that had done that in the first place.
So talking about re-releases or limited fan events, does anybody have any idea how difficult it is to actually get a hold of the movie to show it? Like, is it just a case of the cinema goes, hey, we've got requests to have this movie shown. Can we have a copy of it, please, for this date to this date? And they get it and they show it. Is it that easy, or have you got to talk somebody on the distribution side into it?
No. It was pretty easy. We asked for it. We had even a 3D screening, and everyone showed up, and Adam Thornton showed up, and a lot of other people showed up. We just asked for it, and also the cinema in Technic Museum Sinsheim, they talked to the distribution side, and they told us it shouldn't be a problem to get one of the DCPs, and we could have original version in English, or we could have German, and there was no problem on 20th Century Fox side there so far. So,
and what date was that when you were asking?
Well, I can't remember exactly the date. I have to check.
Month. Like when was it?
It was. I can't exactly remember.
I think it was like I think it was like around May last. I think around the same time as we went to Cologne for the open air screening. I think around May, June, something around that time.
Let me check my records. I'm coming right back for it.
No, the reason I'm asking is because does it change after a certain number of months or after the initial release or something like that? I'm just a little curious.
Oh,
See,
it got easier. The amount the cinema had to pay for the DCP went actually down. So they were more keen on showing it if they sell a decent amount of tickets.
Right. So what I'm looking at is there's going to be this bubble, this lag bubble, right? So movies aren't being made at the moment because of the pandemic. So once cinemas reopen and things get going again, there's going to be this gap where there isn't stuff to be released. And what's going to fill that gap? Well, they're going to re-release older movies. And this is our opportunity to get Alita back in cinemas. Now, not to put not to shit on the rest of the world, but the rest of the world loved Alita. The problem is continental USA. We need to get it back into cinemas in continental USA and try and push that sales figure there up closer to the 100 million mark. I don't know if it's doable, but it's a sort of a goal that would then probably push us over the edge with a studio backing a sequel. So I really feel it's an opportunity. So anybody who's listening around the world who wants to, put pressure on their local cinemas when they start reopening to bring this movie back, feel free to do it because any support is worthwhile. But maybe we need to get everybody who's part of the elite army in the continental US to really ring the bells and holler through the streets and get this happening in their local area. The more places it happens organically, the more the studio will sit back and say, hey, look, this is happening here. There's a big demand.
Also, that's a good thing if you hit up those chains like AMC or so, they struggle anyways at the moment. And if they make a decision, then it would affect all the cinemas and not just one or two. So it would also be cool.
Yeah, chain's probably harder to get a hold of, but also more impactful if you can get the whole chain to start dropping the movie again. So that would be good.
Times like these, I think they will get back more to the 2019 movies and go through them until they have new content to show. So, and that they are also able to pay for. So, as the people said, like those acquiring fees goes down by time. So, a movie like Alita, which has quite a cult following, that they should have picked that up by now. I think the chances are not bad that it comes back. So once they open the theaters up.
Well, now there's something we can all do. We can all contact our local cinema and start asking for them to re-release Alita when the cinema opens. Do it now. Do it regularly. Don't be mean about it. Don't be annoying. Just make sure they understand that this is a thing they should do to make some money when they reopen.
Then actually, I've gone to my local cinema like a week or two ago and asked them if, when they were going to reopen again, and I just looked on the schedule page. They actually surprisingly show movies from like Joker, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Spider-Man: Far From Home on the schedule. So that was like movies from last year. So I've asked them specifically about Alita, but back then when I did, they couldn't give me any particular info on that. So I'm hoping with these 3 movies showing up that they might eventually do that too sometime later. So
it's a hope. But it's something we can all do. It's not going to cost a huge amount of money making a few phone calls or sending a few emails.
No.
So I highly recommend that if you haven't done anything but watched Alita and bought a bit of merch so far, maybe this is your chance to get on the phone, send an email, get in contact, and just start asking. It's a good opportunity. Everybody in the Alita Army can get involved.
Well, from my experience, there were times when no one was watching Avengers Endgame in this early screenings, and people were more keen on watching Alita Battle Angel because it was still running in this particular theater. So that's an observation I made.
It's a good one. So, anybody got any other light bulb moments about things that the Alita Army can do to promote the sequel?
I actually have a list, but I don't want to get all preachy. So I think the big thing and what I've noticed and observed from the outside looking in, and the times I've played a part is, the big thing is to trend on social media because, regardless of what people think, they do pay attention to analytics. They do pay attention to what is being talked about the most. I mean, I think it was last week, this is going back to Star Wars, people were hashtagging Make Solo 2 happen. And I looked at it again, it had 25K tweets. And I was like, dang, like if this happens for, say, Alita sequel or hashtag at least air cut or hashtag whatever, and it, is a more frequent thing, just imagine what'll eventually happen. It might happen sooner rather than a little bit later. So that to me is one really important thing. And I've seen a lot of people, hashtag Alita Army, hashtag Alita sequel, but I think consistency and inviting more people in is a key thing to, getting it done, because you want to make everyone, including Disney, obviously in this situation here, that we want to see Alita's story continue, whether that's on sequel, whether that's a Disney Plus series, or whether that's, both. We want to see her story continue.
Yeah, I feel that for the Snyder Cut movement also, when they want to trend, it's basically, I see they can basically do it like a lot easier than we do. So we trended like for 3 times now: December, in April, and in February. And we had also one attempt where we didn't had enough time and it failed. We couldn't get trending once. So it's also a thing that I would like to trend more, but also I have to make sure the people are on board and they are ready for that. So you have to coordinate a lot of stuff to get that. So yeah, and I also fear that if you trend too much, then that effect wears off. But I'm not sure. What's your opinion on that? You said like we should trend more often, even. So I don't know.
I'm of the mindset that any publicity, most of the time, as long as it's nothing like bizarre, crazy, I'm of the mindset that any publicity is good publicity. So if they see there's not to counter your point completely, but I feel like if they see there's a demand, they're gonna be like, okay, let's get the ball rolling. They're really asking for it. There's an audience, there's a demand there. So let's just get the ball rolling. Let's tell them, hey, let's call John Landau, let's call Robert Rodriguez, let's call James Cameron and Rosa and let them know, hey, we want to, get this done because they're asking for it and we like to make money, the end. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Also, what did the Snyder Cut movement do besides trending to get the attention on the topic?
Well, aside from trending, most people are aware that, Zach had experienced a very sad tragedy. He lost his daughter during the production of Justice League, and that's why he, unfortunately stepped down. So a lot of individuals, including myself, donated to charity, the ASFAP, which is, suicide prevention. So that was something a lot of people, not just myself, but a lot of people decided to take part of. And we went well over $100,000. I think it hit like 200K. I haven't really been keeping up, but yeah, mental health awareness is a big thing in the movement. And yeah, just, hashtagging it on social media. Me, I'm a YouTuber, hashtagging it up, letting people know, hey, I really support this on social media.
Yeah.
And just trend and bringing people awareness about the movement, and the same with the Alita Army and the Alita sequel as well. So yeah.
I've seen that, especially from recent Cinema Blend articles, there was one where the author also specifically highlighted the importance of charity and encouraged us when we do something, when we try to organize something, that we also think about doing the extra mile and raise money also for a cause. Like we did with the Open Bionics, and so I think that also helped to get the decision also to raise extra money besides that for the billboard what we had it recently, or what will start next week. So so okay, let's do it and raise also money for a good cause, and that helped to get the decision in that direction done. So yeah.
I have a question. Real quick, in being organized with the Alita Army, is there any specific charity that we put to the front, or is it regional, or we just want to pick per? Because one of my things being disabled is the idea of, and especially linking it to Alita, is, you know, maybe companies that provide prosthetics for people or children, the things that kind of, you know, not to be on the nose, but it's obviously a big part of who she is in finding herself.
That's right.
This reconnection, and I totally understand that after multiple surgeries and everything. So I guess long-winded, is there one thing we go for, or are we just kind of free to pick and choose?
Usually I think the go-to charity in that regard is actually the Open Bionics thing, where we have exactly that. They create prosthetics for amputees, especially arm prosthetics, and they are tied to the movie in their marketing. And Tilly Lock is like the poster child also of the company, and was also in the marketing, and is like the ambassador of Open Bionics. So yeah, and I think in general it's a good thing that we go with that and donate towards them. What I think for the billboard, and because of the health crisis we have going on, we thought, okay, we could switch it up this time and donate for something that relates to the health crisis. And a lot of people have trouble now with access of food. So we thought, okay, Action Against Hunger and Feeding America would be great choices for this one. To do something especially in this crisis. That was also a part of the article, so there were also referencing to maybe encouraging us to, hey, maybe do something in that direction. So yeah, that made the ball rolling, and then we start to think, okay, how we could do that. So yeah.
So I'm currently sharing my screen, and it's the AlitaArmy.org news blog, and we've got the donation here at the moment for Feeding America, and
awesome.
And the other one, which is the other one?
There was Action Against Hunger.
That's on the bottom one.
Yeah, the one is obviously a national organization. The other one is Action Against Hunger is active in the 50 poorest countries in the world, and acts there. So thought it would have been a good balance, and the money that is raised gets split half between those two organizations.
So I've already raised $1,000 to go to those two charities in a day and a half. But although Foxfire set the goal to $9.99.99 for whatever reason it was.
No, yeah, the Battle Angel number.
But yeah, we can keep donating to that one.
Yeah.
So if anybody feels philanthropic, please head over there and add to that one. It goes to two very good causes.
Yeah, also the campaign is basically we shared it a week, but the billboard isn't even online, and we already got some money in. And I hope when the billboard is running during the week, and by the start of a new month, people get money. So hope that some that we can raise a bit more. So until then.
So attached to the collection that we're doing for charity at the moment, plus the billboard, is also a hashtag trend that we're doing later this week. I think it's Thursday US, is hashtag Alita Fallen Angel, which is the proposed name that Cameron himself gave in an interview for the sequel. So that's the trend we're going for. We've attempted to trend, I think it's twice or three times now with Alita sequel. And Alita sequel is used pretty much daily by the Alita Army all over the place. Every time I open Twitter, there's tweets everywhere about it. So to try and get that hashtag trend on a particular day would be a nightmare, because it's probably like up to 10,000 tweets we'd have to do before we hit baseline, which is why we're using a new tag this time around, so it immediately starts to push up into the trending realms. So that will be Thursday, June 4, 7 a.m. Eastern US, which is 11 UTC. Hashtag is hashtag Alita Fallen Angel, capital A, capital F, capital A. Don't use the hashtag until that time, because it will reduce the amount that it trends by however many times it's used before we attempt to trend. There's a countdown timer that you can access through the news page. Please only put one hashtag in your posts. You can put extra hashtags on replies, that's fine, but the initial post needs to just be the one hashtag, which is hashtag Alita Fallen Angel, for it to include in the trending. So I just thought I'd throw that one in there while it was topical. Now, it's not just the English-speaking group that's working on hashtags. We've also got the Alita Brazil fandom, who they've had it pretty rough. They don't have hard copy DVDs or Blu-rays in Brazil at all, which is a crime. The only thing they can get there is digital, and they would really like to have hard copies in their hot little hands. So they're actually attempting to do a Twitter push for Alita Blu-ray Brazil. Hang on, I've got some messages popping up. So Junker's got to head off. Thank you so much for coming on, Junker.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Thank you, guys.
See you, Joe.
Great to talk to you.
I'll hopefully see you guys soon again somewhere.
Very soon.
Yeah, come on again, man. You're very welcome. Anybody who wants a sequel is part of the Alita Army, and this is your channel as much as it's ours. So anytime you want to come on, just hit us up and let us know, and we'll get you on here for whatever topic you're interested in talking about.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yo, see you, man.
Here.
All right, have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
So we were talking about Brazil.
Yes, sorry, I forgot that I was sharing my screen, so I've jumped off the actual post. Here it is. Okay, so the Brazilians are attempting to trend with hashtag Alita Blu-ray Brazil, because they don't have any Blu-rays down there. Now, let's see if I can find a translate. Here we go. So the time is Tuesday, June the 9th at 9 a.m. Brazilian time. I'm not sure exactly how that works with continental USA, but I suspect it's maybe Eastern, because Brazil is on the eastern side of South America. And I think it also sticks out a bit further to the right. So I would say Eastern would be the closest. So if you want to help out with that one, hashtag Alita Blu-ray Brazil, all the same rules with the one that I spoke with before. Don't use it until the time. Only put the one hashtag in the posts. You can set things up through TweetDeck, so you can have a think about it ahead of time and pop those in. They're also asking you to tag Sin Color B and 20th Century BR to get the attention of the distribution companies in their country, to get them to consider bringing Blu-rays of Alita to Brazil. There's also a countdown timer there if you want to watch when that's supposed to be happening in your area. So check that one out. Scrolling up the news, because we're doing news now, so we might as well just get all out of the park. We've got customizable shoe designs with Alita Battle Angel.
Oh, wow.
They're available. Oh, there's some shoes. Yeah. Hey. So you can customize your logo, photo, pattern This one is Alita Battle Angel, new brand, breathable mint flat shoes in fashion sizes. Okay.
Is that officially licensed merch?
Sorry?
Is that officially licensed merch?
I do not know. I didn't put this news post up, and I haven't actually looked into it. I do actually have officially licensed Alita sneakers that I had to buy in from China, especially because they were sold out in the Western world, and they were god awfully expensive. But I love them and I wear them regularly. They're very big. And the other bit of news that we have on the news page at the moment is HBO Max has launched. HBO Max would be close to the heart of Joshua, I suspect, with what's planned for next year. But HBO Max has launched with Alita Battle Angel and every HBO movie available to stream. So Alita and Aliens is up there at the front because 20th Century Fox, before they became 20th Century Pictures, had a deal going with HBO for streaming all of their movie rights. So that will end in 2022, I believe, unless it's cancelled earlier for bucket loads of money. And then that will then revert back to Disney, and they'll have to work out where they're going to put it. And that's when I think the 20th Century Pictures streaming will start. So that's our news. I banged out the news there. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. There we go. Now. Right. So, one other topic that I wanted to bring up as far as other ways to support Alita Battle Angel is what we in the education system call outreach, which is basically going outside your organization, which in this case would be the Alita Army. We do have a bit of an echo chamber on Twitter, I think, with all of us following each other, and you see hundreds and hundreds of Alita tweets and maybe not a whole lot of anything else unless you've really followed a whole bunch of other interests, which I haven't. So outreach is getting in touch with like-minded individuals who have seen the movie. It might not be their favorite thing, but they liked it, and they're willing to jump on the bandwagon and help support. It's sort of like if you've ever been on Twitter and you've been not Twitter, sorry. If you've ever been on Twitch, why do all these things start with T? I don't know. But you've ever been on Twitch and you're watching a streamer, and then they go, "Okay, I'm going to send everybody who's watching my stream now over to this other guy's stream who I'm supporting," and it's called a stream raid. And that's the sort of thing that we want to get going with the Alita fandom, and that is getting other fandoms interested. Now, obviously, the Snyder Cut guys who have been successful are now sitting back going, "Yeah, we've done it. Now what do we do? We're going to get what we want, and we've been so vocal, and we're doing all this stuff. Now what do we do?" And they're looking for other things to support.
Yeah, they are doing now, like half of them are doing like the air cut now, so they are trying to get that rolling. It was always a thing, but now it gets more support, and I'm pretty sure it will get also released some time, maybe after the Snyder Cut is released. But also a lot of you guys also came over to Alita. It's
Yeah, I try to. This goes back to last year. I try and hashtag Aircut, hashtag Alita, and hashtag Alita Army whenever I post something related to the Snyder Cut. So it's just a matter of me, like I said earlier about consistency. It's a matter of myself being more consistent in, being like, "Hey, check out Alita. Hey, if you like it, come, tag Alita sequel, hashtag Alita Army." So more and more people are aware of, people like us that really want to see her story continue. So that's the big thing as well.
Also, what I saw like this last week with the BCM 325, or how those students called the class, there was like I don't know, like at least a few dozens, if not like basically 50 people, or I don't know how many it was, but it was a lot of tweets they produced about Alita. And the interesting thing is they had the class and they didn't tag in a way that we find them immediately. We took some time to find out about the class, but that was also interesting because they are in a complete different circle than ours, And I think such opportunities like that is hard to create, but if we find those, that's also something that we should jump on and help out people when they are having classes and discussing a movie like Alita.
Yeah, that'd be cool if we could actually find out when it's going to happen, and just sort of, if it's an online thing, rock up and and lend support.
It was like pretty random this time, of course, so it was in the middle of happening, but there came out a really cool discussions about that, and I think a few of them got slightly converted to Alita Army. I have at least 2 of them following me now, and so they seem pretty interesting. At least one of them want to read the manga now, so yeah, it's the one person at a time. So yeah, so.
Well, you might think that what we do on Twitter, which is, somebody says something about Alita, or there's a poll and we dogpile on it, and some people go on about it being annoying, but then I see more people saying, wow, there's all these people on Twitter who love Alita. I'll give it a go.
Right.
I've been sleeping on this movie, but now I'm going to watch it.
Right.
And usually they come back and go, why the hell didn't I see this earlier? I want this in my life. Where's the sequel? And we're like, welcome to the Alita Army. Are we glad you caught up?
Yeah.
That's what we're here for, lifting the veil, sharing the beauty we have seen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I've just run through a couple of things that's been happening recently and happening with the outreach at the moment. I was interviewed by the Movie Seller on their podcast. Great bunch of guys. We actually did them a biggie and dogpiled on their VHS for T1D campaign for raising money for research into type 1 diabetes. Obviously, that's close to my heart, or my pancreas, as you might say, because I've been type 1 diabetic for 38 years. So I know exactly what that's all about. So I got interviewed there and was talking up the Alita Army, and they liked the movie. They gave it solid 8.5 to 9 out of 10. So I was very happy with that. Den / The Last 300 and I are working on getting on Popcorn Planet to talk about Alita there. The owner of that site, he's very keen to have us on. He wants to support the cause, so that's great. There's a bunch of guys. I think it's Star and Fox and ST are talking with Cinema Blend, giving them information for yet another positive Alita article that they want to write. So that's terrific. I'm talking to the guys from Suck My Fanfic about they did a couple of episodes on Alita. Their review was let's just say that the context wasn't perfect, because there was stuff that they just didn't know about. So I'm actually in talks with them to go on and do a podcast with them, and just to set them straight about a few things and help them appreciate the movie a bit more. And they said in return that they talk about my fanfic, so I'm keen on that. We'll see where that leads. But keep it in mind, Alita Army, that any of you who feels confident enough can go out and talk to other groups. Just try and get your information straight. If you're not sure, come and ask anybody else in the fandom, and we'll get a consensus on what the answer should be. Then you can go back to them. But what we want to do is positively represent the fandom, positively promote the movie, and by doing so, and we should all be doing this whenever we can, we'll get our sequel. Because it's a matter of agitating to the point where you get what you want. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. We will do this. We just keep going.
You can't win over people by shitting on their stuff.
That's right.
That's
you
true.
don't shit on any other fandom. They all do it.
Yeah, one thing I did want to bring up is that when people have ideas and things, there isn't like a hierarchy or anything that you have to go through. You can post the idea publicly, right? And everybody can respond and tell you what they think of the idea. You don't have to go to certain individuals and tell them to push the idea for you. And I would just like everybody to know that and to understand that, because I don't like being in a position where I feel like I have to say yes or no to something when I shouldn't have that kind of power anyway, right? So I don't want people to think it works that way. So if you have an idea, bring it forth. Perfect example, Alita Brazil, right?
Unlike a lot of movements, the Alita Army is not really a cult of personality. There's people who are advocating all the time, so they pop up more often, like Star of Elion, Foxfire, Challenger, but they're not running the show. The show is everybody's. So basically what Star of Elion is saying is, if you've got an idea and you really want to run with it, run with it. If you want some advice on whether you think we think it'll work or not, sure, ask us. But in the end, it's your choice. You just need to follow the basic tenets, which is A, don't be a dick. Rule number one of the internet. B, don't shit on anybody else's fandom, because that's not what we're here for. We're here to hold a leader up, not push anybody else down. And C, if you're investing funds in it, my God, do your homework. Okay? You don't want to be throwing large amounts of money at the wall and just have it slide down and do nothing. The more money it costs, the more you need to think about it. Because we don't want you to go and try and do something and have it fall over and cost you a lot of money, and then you get all negative and down and start, saying, oh, you said that I should do this. Don't want any of that to happen. The more money it costs, the more you need to think about it, and the more you need to think hard about it. We'll discuss it with you, but you own it. If it's your idea, you own it. Okay?
Yeah, the thing also is, that's a good point that you say. You have to think about all this stuff. But also, on the other hand, it will always be a part of it. Will always be a gamble, especially if they are public related things, like for instance, doing a billboard, or something can happen, like you have riots suddenly, and that crosses your plans, no matter how good you are. It could, yeah. So the thing is, on the one hand, you want to be careful, but on the other hand, sometimes you have to take risks. So it's hard to say, like, do this or do that. It's a matter of your own judgment in that regard.
Yeah, I missed a lot of the stream, so I don't know if this has been said before, but when it comes to organizing the trending events, right, we have to take into consideration like how everybody is feeling, whether everybody is motivated to do it, whether everybody is has time to do it, right? So we don't sometimes just want to just jump into it, and there's going to be some hesitation sometimes, because we would rather just say, well, get a feel for everybody's mood, put it out there and see how everybody feels, because I can't force people to do something that they don't want to do. And we have already tried to trend before when people weren't ready for it. They didn't really. I heard from Asia that they didn't want to trend during this whole COVID thing, and at that time that we tried to trend without their support, we failed. So if you want to trend, you have to get a feel for whether the whole group is with you or not. You can't just say we're going to trend on this day and then just expect everybody to do it. So that's something that people need to be aware of before they tell us to organize an event for this day or that day.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you put out posts, get a feel like how do you feel about this and that day, and maybe you put this trending event around something else to create something news. Because if you put just a trend out without news, it also feels sometimes a little bit dull to do that. But if you have an event that you are pushing, like billboard or something that generates news, and then puts a trend around it to push that thing, it makes also more sense and feel like you can motivate people more. But first, you have to get the feel, as you said. You have to ask around in different circles, not just in Twitter, but also on Reddit, wherever you have people, and look if you get a feedback. Like sometimes you put ideas out there and you get a lot of feedback, and sometimes you have those days like 3 people like it and that's it. So yeah.
But that doesn't mean you should stop trying.
No, it shouldn't. But if you don't get feedback, it's a sign that maybe it isn't the wrong time, and you try it maybe a week later again and see if it's the same. or the idea doesn't work. So,
and that brings up another point. People may get the impression that if ideas come from certain people, that they never fail, right? But I've had ideas in the past, like I think it was April, when it was first announced that China would begin re-showing movies, like I think Avengers Endgame or one of the Avengers movies was going to be shown again. And at that time, I wanted to start the hashtag. I called it Reopen Alita. Of course, re-release Alita sounded better, but I thought Reopen Alita. That was the thing I was going to push at the time. But that didn't really get any traction. And not only that, but Challenger ST was like, re-release Alita is better. But we didn't even push that because the news didn't continue. It kind of dropped off, and then the theaters closed again anyway. And so that idea just basically went splat before it even got off the ground. So I don't want people to get the impression that because ideas come from certain people that they never fail, that they always succeed, and that if they put forth an idea and it fails, then they just, like the system was rigged against them or something like that, when it's not. We all have ideas that don't always go everywhere. So just, don't feel like you failed and give up.
Just remember, be like a leader. You get knocked down, we all get knocked down, but it's the true warriors get back up again. You don't try something once, and if it doesn't work, you run away and you never try again. That's not a leader. If you want to be like a leader, you've got to get back up and try again, and that's what we've got to keep doing until we get our sequel. There's no stopping, no going back.
We don't stop when we're tired, we're stopping when we're done.
Yes, exactly. So does anybody else have any other ideas about ways to support Alita? Sluggy Tinky 21, we haven't heard much from you today. Have you got any comments?
Well, I guess one idea I was thinking about to support the fandom. I guess every person has their own talents, like various talents. I was just thinking maybe they could use those talents as a way to support the Alita sequel, like drawing or animating or any other forms of talent that they can use to help support it if they actually like the movie, or for example, if they like a certain scene, maybe draw a scene from the movie that you most favored. For example, for me, I'm currently working on an animation on one of my favorite scenes in the movie. It is messed up, but that's actually one of the ways I like to support the fandom with my own talents, such as animating or drawing. And for other people too, it doesn't have to be just drawing. It could be all sorts of other talents, like cosplaying or I guess singing. There's a good song in Alita Battle Angel. Maybe they can sing it. However they want to support it.
I think also that this kind of pushing is also helpful, not just to communicate outward, but also communicate inward, and you keep the fan base going with that stuff because you're creating new content that people can be happy about, and it keeps them going. So
see, you don't all have to be great artists or great writers or great animators or anything. Do what you can do to help support Alita. You don't have to go, oh, I don't have any of those skills, I can't do anything. Whatever you can do, just tell your friends and family to see the movie. Just don't do it as many times as John Lutz has, because he won't out of them. But
you might go bankrupt.
Yeah, just judge the timing, tell your friends, and don't be upset if they don't like it. Everybody's allowed to have their opinion, even if it's wrong. But yeah, we all just have to think creatively and use, as Sluggy Tinky 21 says, our personal talents to get the job done.
Yeah.
Well, that's an excellent discussion, guys. I feel that this stream's been really informative. Does anybody have any closing comments? Because we're getting on in time. I might have to close it out here.
From my side, I have nothing. So,
our guests, do they have any final comments they'd like to make? You're our stars, so.
I'm just thankful to be on the show again. Would love to come back. I
You're
have
very
a lot
welcome.
of I have a lot of fun here with you guys. So
That's cool. That makes me happy.
Get you on Den's beer and chat as well. You'd have fun then too.
Oh yeah, anything
Well,
goes.
I'm kind of sad I didn't get to watch that one like last night because I'm all for like I would like to see that happening with all the F-bombs and stuff like that.
hey, I'm being a very good girl. I usually curse like a sailor.
Oh, you'll fit right in on Den's stream. I tell you that right now.
Cursing's natural.
Just bring some beer. That's it.
Actually, they've done studies where people who curse are actually more truthful than people who don't.
I need to bring cranberry jam on there too then.
Oh yeah.
You all should come on.
We'll shovel them all in. So, Joshua, do you have any last comments? Anything else you'd like to add?
Thanks for inviting me on. I really had a good time, and all of you are really great people, and yeah, I'm really excited. So yeah, thanks for having me on. It was really fun.
No worries. You're welcome back anytime.
Thanks.
Avon, this is your first rodeo. Do you have any last comments?
Oh, no, not really. No.
On the spot. Sorry about that. Well, guys, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate your input. If it was just the same bunch of people saying the same things every week, it would get very boring very quickly. So we're really glad to have your input. We're really glad that you love Alita and you want to come on and talk to us about it. So next week, we're going to have a stream currently titled, although these things are prone to change if other things come up, Will Disney Survive the Pandemic? So that could be an interesting topic of conversation. I'm going to have to do a bit of research into that myself. I've heard a few inklings of what's happening to them financially with the various theme parks being closed and things like that. But a little bit more research might be good to have some more to say about that topic.
Is there actually some? Sorry. Is there actually some kind of a way to bring Doc Ido or maybe Charles Schmidt on there, because they're all about statistics now? I would kind of think they have this sort of on their radar all the time, at least in a number kind of things.
We have asked Charles to come on multiple times. He's more happy in the fixed chat.
He did try to come on once, but we had the at the time we couldn't figure out the glitch that we have where people couldn't get into the chat. But now I think we got to figure it out. And if you tried it now, we could probably get on.
So Charles, you're up for next week. If you want to come in, please feel free. And yeah, Doc Ido, yeah, he's a tricky one. I will say though that I've got an email address for Jay on Nice Day now. I got that yesterday. I was like, yes. So I'm hoping to get Jay on the stream at some point, because that guy is like a Alita almanac. He knows so much stuff. It's terrific. So we'll be having a Alita manga themed stream sometime soon with him on. But next week should be Will Disney Survive the Pandemic? So yeah, we'll try and get Charles and if we can convince Doc Ido.
I already looked into this issue because I like the warmth of a nice fire. So I got myself informed on this issue. So I guess I'll join in.
Please do, Dennis. We'll be interested to hear what you've got to say. And finding out what people's opinions are of where the Mouse House is headed. Okay, so thank you this week's guest for coming on. Todd, who's toddled off. Joshua, Sluggy Tinky 21, and Avon, thank you all for coming on. We appreciate your efforts. We appreciate you coming on. Thanks for chatting with us. It was great. It is fantastic to have so many interesting guests coming on. We hope you all consider coming back sometime in the future. If anybody who's listening wants to come on to the Alita Army live stream, you're all welcome. This is your channel. You are part of the Alita Army, then you are quite welcome to come on here. You just have to follow the basic rules of the internet, which is don't be a dick and don't put anybody else down to try and build Alita up. She can stand up on her own. So thank you, listeners, for joining us. You are the ones that make the fandom special, and we do this for you guys and for ourselves, because we have fun doing it. But as we all like to say at the end of the stream, if you've got them in your area, 3, 2, 1.
Buy those Blu-rays, baby.
Buy those Blu-rays, baby.
Thanks for coming on, guys, and see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye.
You know, back when I was in the academy, we would follow every toast with a song. Lock. When I have plucked the rose